98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Well, the Red Sox ended a 4-game losing streak, 5 if you count Monday's suspended game, with a 6-3 win over the Blue Jays last night at Fenway. Jarren Duran led the way for Boston with 2 hits, including his 20th home run to lead off the bottom of the first. And with that 20th home run, Duran became the first player in MLB history to notch at least 10 triples, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 40 doubles in a single season. Duran also had 2 assists in the outfield as the Sox threw out 3 different runners on the bases. Sox gain a game in the third and final wild card spot as the Twins lost to the Braves 8-6, so Boston 4 games behind Minnesota. Sox and Jays meet again tonight at Fenway as Brian Bayo faces Chris Bassett on the mound. Football, the Patriots get back to work today in Foxborough. Gerard Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we await a starting quarterback decision. The Pats trimmed their roster to the NFL-mandated 53 players yesterday, with Bailey Zappi and Kevin Harris among the players that were cut. The NFL waiver claim deadline is set for noon, with the Pats owning the number 3 priority as they look for offensive line help. And in U.S. Open tennis on the men's side, Karen Khachanov outlasted Daniel Evans in 5 sets. It was the longest match in U.S. Open history at 5 hours and 35 minutes. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 5% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Now open in Raynham, Reading, and Braintree. I'm Dan Roach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Loopity up with a football.
98.5, The Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast. Cocaine and hookers, yes. Na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
.98.5 The Sports Hub. Toucher and Hardy for a Wednesday. Both Fred and Hardy off today. Fred is off the rest of the week. Hardy will be back in tomorrow. But for today, an all-star lineup. My name is John Wallach. You heard Dan Roach doing headlines. Dan, first of all, thank you very much for doing headlines
That was
today.
my Virgin voyage.
You couldn't have done it any better. You stuck the landing. You're hired. That was fantastic. Michael Holly is here. Michael Holly has done headlines. I would think it would be poetic, Michael, if you did headlines for me. I think that would be fantastic after, a decade of me doing it for you at the other place?
I'm Michael Holly. You're right, John Wallach. And look, but you said Dan Roach did the headlines.
He was fantastic.
Did he do the headlines? No, first of all, the backstory is he's in here. I don't know. How do I do this? How do I do that? I'm not sure. Then it goes on and it gives you this deep, nuanced headline for 6 o'clock in the morning. That's some good stuff.
Ready to go.
The voice is ready.
I've been in since just after midnight trying to get ready.
I mean, sweating. He's sweating the entire time.
No,
First of all, the 3 of you have been here far too long already.
So, let's talk about this for a
We're
second.
going to commute.
We already did a show.
Usually I am here. I'm one of the first people here. I get here, 5:10, 5:15, but when I'm hosting or I have other things I have to take care of in addition to this, I am here about 5 o'clock. I walk in here. Both Dan Roach and Michael Holly are here at 4:55 in the morning. Dan was a little uncomfortable with doing it. He wanted to get here early and prepare. Michael, why are you here
Not
at
only were we
4:55 in the
here
morning?
in full swing, telling
Yep.
kids
I
stories,
walk in here
family
in mid-conversation,
stories. We're doing
you
the
guys are
thing.
like,
We're
yeah.
doing the thing at 4 o'clock. See, you're used to this. You're used to getting up in the morning, Wallach. This is what you do.
Yeah.
It's fine. Anytime I know I have to do morning radio, it kind of freaks me out. Like, okay,
I know exactly what you're
I
saying.
set like 16 alarms.
Yeah.
Like this morning, like the alarm was like, okay, there's like a 3:45, then there's a 3:47. like, 350, just in case I talk to myself and
Right.
like, oh no, this doesn't really matter. This alarm, this is a mistake.
Right.
So I really couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get in there. I didn't want to miss it. So
The saddest part is my house is my wife and my daughter, who's getting married next year. So she's home saving money. Everyone was out the door at the same time today. That's insane, right?
Really?
Yes.
What's going on in the
My wife and
Roach
daughter
house?
get up at 4:20 every morning. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and work out at 5 a.m. to 6:45.
Wow.
Yeah.
The workout. This is walking. This is like
It's a place called IPF in North Reading.
Okay,
it's,
plug. Get a little plug here.
Walter Norton, who used to be the head trainer for the Celtics,
Right.
their work strength and conditioning coach when they won the title, he has this place. Him and Jamie Damon opened up a place and that the whole family's gone to. They do amazing work with college athletes and everything. But my wife's in sick shape. She does pull-ups with weights tied to her belt, on the hip and
God
everything
bless
else. So they get in there, do an hour 45, and
Hold
they
on.
come home.
Did you say walking? Well, I'm glad you brought up walking.
See, I do the
because
walking, Michael.
Dan Roach is a member of the walking club every day. We're not making this up. We found this out yesterday, 7 a.m. If he's not working here, he joins a bunch of 70-year-olds and walks around the neighborhood in tracksuits. They all have uniforms.
So you walk around. You guys have conversations and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
we just talk about nothing, basically. You know what I mean?
See-
We come home and the wives say, "What did you talk about?" I don't really know. Just a little bit of that, a little bit of this. So
But see, okay, I just can't do that.
right.
Like, no, walking is fine. Okay, walking. But if it's a workout, I can't. I see people running together and they're talking.
I can't do that.
I just can't do it.
You
it takes
run-
everything. I go to so many dark places just to get through
Let's
the
talk
workout.
No, it's not just that. It's just the running part.
Not
of the
well lit
workout.
your gym.
It sucks. It's
Oh, those
so,
dark
No,
places.
those dark places.
No.
Those kinds.
It sucks so much to run, and I do it to keep in shape. I'll do whatever 2, 3, whatever the case may be. I hate running so much. I really want to give it up, but it's the only chance I get to exercise. You know what I'm saying?
And see,
I
like
have
you guys
to put my
would both
mind somewhere else
like
to do
this
it.
because you feel guilty if you don't go. Do you know what I mean? So that's the reason why I love it, is because even if I work, an anchor at Channel 4 and don't get home to 12:31 a.m., I'll still try to get up for 7 a.m. to walk because those guys do it, and we do it through the winter. We do it through the rain, snow, and everything else. And it gives me motivation. I wouldn't do it by myself if it was
And
up
they
to
hold
me.
you accountable. If
Yeah,
you're not
we
there.
hold
they're
each other
like,
accountable.
Hey,
Right.
Dan, where were you?
My buddies, Dave
first-
Perkins, Jerry Desmond,
Look
Bert,
at
Art Rumanier.
Look at this.
It's Joel
I
Osgood.
mean, it's not even. That'd be 10 minutes
Yeah.
into the show. How many plugs?
I need a bulldozer to
Shout
scoop up
out.
these names.
How many
Jesus
shout
Christ.
outs
He's already
can you
named
give
the
today?
leader
Chris
of the
Hennessy.
gym.
Yeah, we're all part of the
Already.
walking club.
Yeah, but I mean, we've already found out about the guy who owns the gym that you
The
go
gym.
How about
to.
Gary at the
Then-
mobile when I stop and get the papers this morning at
Then-
Dunkin'
then-
Donuts too?
Then we got the group, and they sound like, and John, they sound like nice guys. And like they're nice guys. If Roachy misses like a day or two, hey, we missed you. We missed you the
Yeah.
other day. But if he missed like 3 or 4 days,
They thought
I can
he
see
was
some.
dead.
I can see some anger coming out of the group.
No, they just assume he was dead.
You're trying to.
It's like this week, right?
trying
I
to
was
quit
I was
us?
in.
We saw you on the air. What's up?
Right, exactly. I was down in D.C. with the Pats, so I missed, and then
Hey.
I was here yesterday and here today, so I miss. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those deals. I got to work tonight till midnight, so I may not walk tomorrow morning. So
And
it's
these
just one
guys
of
get
those
all
things.
the scoops, don't they? They get your scoops. Hey, hey,
We talk about the
Roachy.
neighborhood. We talk about what that. Oh, how much is that house going for? We talk about this and that, all those kind of things.
Drake-
and as I told these guys,
you talk about
yesterday,
Drake May,
we
Jacoby
walked by
Brissett,
the
too?
parents of Michael Chiklis and Jay Leno. We walked through a cemetery, and both their parents are buried in there too. So.
Well,
The
you want to
joke
talk
is,
about?
you walk through the cemetery, one of them just lies down.
No,
There's no reason.
No, and
there's your future.
No,
ladies and
here's my
gentlemen.
wisdom to you guys, fellas, is like we walked through and I said, do you see any dollar bills coming out of those graves? No. So make sure you spend every dime you got and just enjoy life. That's all.
I like that.
Okay.
That's a nice little motivation.
There you go.
Nice Wednesday morning motivation.
It's an all positive day.
It has to
It
be.
has to be.
Yesterday
Today's
was
the day.
just miserable. The negativity swirling around this Patriots team, and a lot of it deserved. I will
You
give
said a
that.
lot of it deserved.
But, Michael, they're just starting out their season. They haven't played a game yet.
Right.
And yes, they looked horrible in their offensive line Sunday night and everything else. Give Gerard Mayo and this team a chance to get going as a franchise. That's all I'm saying. Everyone's so
right.
what if they go 0-17? Let's just give them a chance in the opener, starting in the opener, and go from there. Take every game as it comes because it's a long season, and everybody has to get through this together.
Wow.
Okay.
Now,
you can watch Toucher and Hardy every morning on YouTube. Since 98.5 The Sports
This
Hub
is
on
not sustainable,
I know.
Dan Roach.
I know.
You cannot sustain.
The goal, Michael,
is
to piss him off in the next 4 hours. I
We'll
think
get
that
there.
between the two of us, we can do it. Watch Toucher and Hardy every morning on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and smash that subscribe button to keep up to date with all the best moments from Boston's home for sports. Of course, we are in the Town Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. Today is a big day for me, gentlemen, because my kids, I have twin boys that are 15. Today is the first day of high school for my boys.
Oh, today's the day.
Today is the day. It is a seminal moment in the Wallach household as they get up. And fortunately for us, there's no longer a bus to catch. They had middle school as a bus ride. High school is within walking distance. So they're going to get up and walk over to high school.
Ninth grade.
Here
it
grade
is.
starts today. Dan Roach, as someone who had this happen twice already, your kids are out of college, they're gone, but I'm sure you remember day one of high school.
Yes.
And you get nostalgic. You look back on, well, I remember this and remember that. How do you get by this kind of day if you are me?
It's the easiest of many days to come.
Why is that?
Because the days you really remember are the days you're dropping off your son at Villanova, and both you and your wife are looking at each other crying because it's the first time you've really been separated from your kids for this long period of time, and they're on their own kind of in the world. And then the other tough day for me was when my daughter, who played 2 sports all the way through college, 3 in high school and 2 in college, the last game she played was like, it hit like, oh gosh, because it was such joy just going to watch my kids play. And you guys are the same. Just go sitting there. You don't even care as a parent. You're just watching your kids play. It's just a different feeling, and you can't explain unless you have kids. That day that she played her last game was, that was a tough one too. So this is,
So what he's saying, Wallach, is enjoy the moment.
Yes.
Enjoy the moment that you're in right now. It's just fine.
Right.
Your
Your kids are 0-0 like the Patriots.
How did you handle it? Because your son's going to be a sophomore, right?
Yeah,
So your son's a sophomore in high school. So his first day of high school, do you remember that?
Well, yes, because the school he went to before, they started in 7th.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those
Different kind of
it's
school.
7
Okay.
through 12.
Okay, it's a different.
But I do remember when he first, so 7th grade, because we're like doing too much. I said it to my wife the other day. I said, we do too much as parents. We're just around. We go to like one of those parents, like those parents who are like every meeting. Oh, we'll do it.
Yep.
Hey, we're here. And I was like, God, we just kind of need to back off a little bit. And so my son, the oldest, I think that's what he was telling us. I remember the 7th grade. I was so excited, taking pictures. Here it is.
Dad.
And so as I started to walk toward the school, he kind of goes out of his side of his, hey, why don't you back up a little bit? why don't you just kind of hang back a little bit? Let me just handle this by myself. So, yeah, you just have to learn not to grip the steering wheel so hard.
Was
That'll be the
there
thing.
ever a time where, and it happens to every parent, where you've gone through a rough night, and in the morning, they were grumpy and started mouthing off to you, and you still had to drive them over to school or drop them off? Was there ever a time where you dropped them off at school and deliberately embarrassed them in front of their friends?
No.
I just did it naturally.
I was saying,
I embarrass my kids all the time.
Yeah, they don't want you. You just know.
Yes.
They don't want you like coming up to the group. They don't want you saying, "Hey, I love you." They don't want to hear any of that kind
I'm
of stuff.
guilty of that. I did that. I had my son is I have one kid who's like you, Dan, like nicest guy, nicest kid in the world. Wouldn't say a bad thing. I have another son, and these boys are twins. I have another son who is the complete opposite. That is a massive wise ass. So he said one thing too many to me. So it was my job not to drop him off, but to pick him up from school because he had to go somewhere else. And I remember getting out of the car and saying, Aaron, it's your father. It's time to go. And he's like in his group of friends. And he's like,
You forgot your Spider-Man lunchbox.
he turned bright red. And all the kids laughed at him. And I couldn't help myself. I said, I'll wait over here. I love you. You know, and I'm screaming across the school. Oh, it was great.
My kids used to get mad because
if you're a dad, you got to take
I would
victories.
drop them off, and I would say, as they got out of the car, it started like in first grade. And I continued it all the way through. Would say, hey, before you leave, I know, have fun, work hard, do the right thing. I made him say that to me every time I dropped them off. So,
You're kidding.
No. And by the end, they're like, have fun, work hard, do the right thing. Bye.
Have fun, work hard, and do the right thing.
Yeah.
This is
From
like,
Dan Roach.
this is like the beginning of a football game.
I'm
Everyone
telling
go
you.
out there. All right, hey, you got them all in the huddle. Have fun, work hard,
Yep.
do the right thing. Get out there.
And then I came home, Michael, and I would change my galoshes into my sneakers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I'm telling you. Now, John said it's my job, or it's our job to piss you off today. And I think we can do it because I always think like the nicest guys in the media, Mike Reese, Dan Roach. And I heard Mike Reese get pissed off a couple of weeks ago at Felger and Maz.
Sunday night on our
Yeah,
post-game show,
So,
too.
he
the
was
offensive
hot.
line.
I said, he's hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I said, all right, so we can take Roach there. We
Dan,
can get him
Dan has gone to a couple of dark places. Fred usually is the one who's able to poke
Fred
him. in the-
exaggerated the heck out of the one time. I couldn't get on my iPad. My daughter was playing a college softball game.
All right, what is your version of
I
events here?
could-
Because Fred wears this
No.
like a badge of honor.
that he got you.
So it was an important game. I was at Fenway to do the BC baseball with the ALS and the Pete Frady's, the
Right.
great story. And I was just walking around, and I was going to go sit in the dugout and watch my daughter. She was playing an important softball game for Babson College. There's another drop. And
There it is.
and it couldn't come in. And you ever have that issue where you just technically you can't get it in. You can't get it in. It was a huge game. And I'm like, I can't get it in. And Fred said something to me. He goes, what's the matter? And I'm like, I can't get this game in. And he took it as like I was angry, like really viciously angry. But it was just more of like frustrated. That's all. It
Did
wasn't
you
like,
start swearing or not?
I might have dropped.
Okay, for you have to understand
Oh,
that's
no,
a
it
change
was
of
just-
biblical proportions
Yeah,
for those of us
exactly.
who know you.
Exactly. You can contrast that with that Dan Roach that Fred has portrayed brilliantly, I'm sure, and work hard, do the right thing. No, was it?
Okay,
Work hard,
have
have
fun.
fun, and do the
No,
right
get
thing.
in the right order, Mike.
You know, that's just
Have fun, work hard,
That
do the
split
right
screen is pretty
You
staggering.
know. So
All right, 617. I don't want to piss you off.
I gotta get ready for the next one.
I understand. Dan Roach is doing headlines.
That's what I'm
today.
doing today.
Dan
I'm
Roach is
working
doing it,
hard.
and you know what, Michael? If you want, we can toss you one too. You can do one also later.
I'm
today.
having fun.
Okay.
I'm doing the right thing.
617-779-0985. Wallach, Holly, and Roach here. In for the guys on a Wednesday. Fred is off the rest of the week. Hardy will be back in tomorrow, but got a good show lined up for you at 7:20. Mark Daniels of Mass Live covers the Patriots. We will discuss all the roster cuts. And then at 9 o'clock, Jared Carabas, who he's worked for so many places. Is he DraftKings now, Dan? I've lost track.
I don't know.
I've
he just
lost
keeps
track.
He's the
hopping
host
from-
of the Section 10 podcast, doing a lot of work for Nesson.
Yeah.
He does a lot of work for a lot of people, but he's the Red Sox expert. He will be with us at 9 o'clock, and we're going to have Mike Lockhart in during the 8 o'clock hour. He's got an interesting take on the Patriots season that we will debate as well. We will discuss all the things that happened last night. We had a Red Sox win and Patriots roster cuts. We'll go through that in a moment. It's Toucher and Hardy for a Wednesday on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's Wallach, Holly, and Dan Roach on a Wednesday here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. A couple of big things happened last night. We were discussing the Red Sox, so let's get into it. They desperately needed a win last night at Fenway Park as they tried to snap what was essentially a 5-game losing streak, although technically that first loss in the doubleheader a couple of days ago reverts back to June. But essentially it was a 5-game losing streak. Jarren Duran has had a career season for the Red Sox. He took over last night's game against Toronto in his very first at-bat.
High drive into right field. Down near the pesky pole. Did he sneak one in there? Yes, he did. Jarren Duran with home run number 20. Red Sox take a 1-0 lead. Not waiting around in attack mode. He's been doing that a lot lately.
Thank you very much to Nesson. Duran's 20th homer of the season gave the Sox an early lead. The first inning wasn't over either. Masataka Yoshida added a 2-run single up the middle. Sox get 3 in the first. They beat Toronto 6-3. Duran has been the story of the year for the Red Sox. 2 more hits, 2 more outfield assists to lead the Sox to the win, and he also set a little bit of history in this one. If you heard Dan's first Hub headline, Duran is the first major leaguer ever to have 10 triples, 20 homers, 30 stolen bases, and 40 doubles in a single season. Alex Cora can't believe it.
Like I've been saying all along, he's one of the best players in the big leagues, man, and every night, you're like in awe of the things that he's doing. And we act surprised, but we should expect this, right? Like, that's what he's doing now. He set the tempo right away, got to pitch in, hit it hard, and, from there we just kept going.
Wilyer Abreu, 2 hits, an RBI, and an outfield assist of his own. And I find it fascinating that the day after the Red Sox committed 6 errors across 2 games, they had 3 outfield assists last night and looked brilliant defensively. They are 4 games behind Minnesota for the final wild card spot in the American League with a little over 4 weeks left in the season. They continue this 5-game series against the Blue Jays tonight. Okay, Dan, you're all positive today. Sox gained a game in the wild card race. You were not sure if they were in it when we talked yesterday. Are they in it now?
Oh, they're all in. They have, 30 games left, 4 games to overcome. So
yeah.
I've been saying to people all along 2 things. One is I go back to my childhood when I was excited that if the Red Sox were in contention on September 1st, my summer was made. Right, so that was we're kind of facing that a little bit with this team and what we've seen in several years, the past years. The other part of that is if they can get within a game and a half, 2 games, with a week to go, 10 days to go in the season, they still have a shot. So we'll see, right? It's just frustrating as heck if you're a Sox fan to watch this team do what they did last night and play one of the cleanest games you'll ever see, throwing guys out at the plate, turning double plays. They looked brilliant, and their bullpen was boom, boom, boom. It was just good to watch. And then you get the nights like 2 nights ago where they're just, putting the ball all over the place, can't field the thing, and showing why they're 29, now 30 and 37 or whatever at home. So it's been one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams lately, especially.
Dan, that walking club you have, you take a walk through the cemetery. There's going to be a headstone there for the 2024 Boston Red Sox. They are dead. They're dead. They're not in it. They won't be in it because all the vital signs to keep the thing going, all the vital signs are negative. ERA, pitching has gone up every month of the season. They are a terrible team at home. I mean, think about that. Like, when is the last time you saw a good Red Sox team that doesn't play well at Fenway Park? This is supposed to be one of the best home field advantages in baseball. It has been. We've seen it on championship teams and even teams that haven't won the championship. We look at it and say they play well at Fenway and they don't play so well away from the park. This team is the opposite. They don't play well at Fenway at all. And I think the pitching has collapsed on them. But most importantly, I don't think they're going to be in it, Dan, because everybody in front of them is legit. So I keep, you look for holes in these.
Right, you thought Kansas City was coming back, and they've
happening.
Took off again.
Yeah, you look at some of these contenders. They're not that good. Yes, they are.
Yeah,
and the Red Sox aren't. I mean, the Red Sox kept it together. I'll give you September 1st.
So you're saying, like the late great Coach Dick McPherson used to say, they have 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in the banana peel, right?
That's right. That's right. They are done. And the disappointing thing is maybe this is unfair, but I'll say it anyway. This is what's happened to Alex Cora's teams the last 3 years. The last 3 years, they get off to a good start. And I know, ownership doesn't spend anything. But if you're going to talk about Cora being one of the best managers in baseball and getting the most out of his team, did he get the most out of this team?
I would say yes. I disagree with that comment right there.
You would say he's gotten the most out of this team?
Yes, because I think if you look at what they have talent-wise, and you look at where they are, and you look at the trade deadline acquisitions that Craig Breslow made, 2 of them are now on the injured list, right? Your 2 pitchers, your relievers that you needed.
Yeah.
They need major league quality players. Like the teams that are ahead of you in contention, look at their bullpens. Look at their starting rotation. They have much better pitchers on those teams. They also, another trade deadline acquisition was James Paxton, right? He's done for the year basically too with the calf strain. So what Cora has and what Cora's been using and what Cora's done, yes, I think that he has gotten the most out of this baseball
The record
team.
of this team far outperforms the talent on this team.
But wait a minute. No, we just said, I know, like the pitching is not, the pitching is not consistent. Let's put it that way. But we're just talking about Jarren Duran having one of the best seasons of anyone in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Rafael Devers. I mean, this team. That the surprising thing to me, I never thought that their pitching would hold up. Their pitching is pretty much what I expected. But I thought
hold on. Let's stop there. Tanner Houck had an ERA of 5 as a starter last year. You expected him to be an all-star?
No, I said I didn't expect their pitching to hold up. But I really was more down on their lineup. Their lineup has shocked me.
Well, what they've shown you, and again, regardless of this year, Michael, because I understand what you're saying, I just think that they've given you hope as a Red Sox fan, right? Because of what you just said. They're finding guys on the major league level that have now proven themselves in Jarren Duran. It looks like, unless he screws up big time, he's going to be a player for years to come. Ceddanne Rafaela, we've talked about this a lot. Try to think about this, Michael, and you know Boston history, you know baseball history as well as anyone. Name me a player in Major League history that has played and is as good as Ceddanne Rafaela defensively in both positions in the same season. Not, we saw, everyone says Robin Yount, Hall of Famer, went from shortstop to outfield. In the same season, he does it effortlessly in both places, which is incredible.
And
so
you get used to it.
Yeah,
and you get used to the
So you
high
found
level.
him. Wilyer Abreu looks like he's a player for years to come now out in right field. Plays a good right field.
That's when the Red Sox
So they
got
found
right.
guys, right? And Tristan Casas,
yeah.
look at the difference he makes just coming back from his injury. So they have the pieces in place, plus to go along with the catcher and Kyle Teal. We talked about Marcelo Meyer. You're worried about him because of his injury history.
And all that,
Roman Anthony looks like he's legit. And then we saw the kid Christian Campbell homered. He had a 420-foot homer last night in AAA. So they have those positional players. Now they have to address the pitching and get that done. And then they'll be a contending team for years to come.
And I asked Maz this a few weeks ago, and you guys can help me out here. Why are they so bad at home? Like the Boston Red Sox.
All right.
Are a bad team at home.
Here's the thing. 2 years ago, they finished in last place. We're 43-39 at home. Last year, finished in last place, but still 3 games under 500 at home. Not horrendous, questionable, but not horrendous. They are, with the win last night, still 7 games under 500 at home. It makes no sense whatsoever. They kick the ball around at home more than they do on the road. They are far and away the worst fielding team in Major League Baseball. I think they have 12 more errors than any other Major League Baseball team this season. And a lot of that damage comes at Fenway Park for whatever reason. It's bizarre. And getting back to where we started, they committed 6 errors across the doubleheader 2 days ago. They were perfect last night. They looked like a playoff team last night. There's no rhyme or reason for this. Alex Cora seems to think that it has to do with youth and the pressure that's being put on these kids because they've never been through it before.
But there's not really much pressure on this team, right? Because they have nothing to lose, and I don't think their expectations are high for this particular team, right? So I go back to 3 things. One, starting pitching. The relief pitching has been tough at home. And then also I think they're heavy left-handed. Right, they're not your typical right-handed home run hitting type of baseball team that fits into Fenway Park. All of their best hitters pretty much are left-handed. So I think those are 3 factors when it comes to why they're so bad at home. And for whatever reason, it gets in their heads. Maybe the kids when they see, it's like falling in line. When one guy does one thing wrong, the next guy, it happens to a team.
All right, we were talking about the pitching. The Red Sox shuffled the roster a little bit last night. The two relievers they got at the trade deadline, and Dan was just talking about this, Lucas Sims and Luis Garcia, both placed on the injured list yesterday. Sims has a right lat strain, Garcia right elbow inflammation. Neither pitcher had pitched well since they got here. One of the roster spots left over filled with a guy that was born during the final year of the Carter administration, Rich Hill.
Just got to be ready for the opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing, and staying ready and understanding that preparation and opportunity come together. You have to be ready for that, and continuing to put in the time and the effort again, as I did this summer, and even prior to the summer, starting to throw and work out and be ready for whatever was around the corner.
This is officially his fourth tour of duty with the Red Sox. He's 44 years old. He just signed with the team earlier this month. He made one rehab start that lasted 2 innings at AAA, and here he is. He joined the bullpen last night. Little known fact, Hill went to Milton High School. He actually pitched against the Natick High School baseball team that had our own Mike Lockhart on it.
Oh, okay.
Did he face him?
Apparently, Mike hits left-handed, so they sat him that day.
Oh, come on.
But Mike saw Rich Hill pitch in high school, and he was saying that Hill shredded them, gave up one hit, threw a shutout. Mike, come on over for 1 second. Just discuss.
It's always fascinating when you hear stories like that.
It wasn't
right?
one of those. Why him and not me?
No.
Mike. What does he have that I don't?
Mike hits left-handed.
Guy's all right.
He didn't face Rich Hill that day, but apparently Hill was lights out.
Yeah, he was a year older than me, so it was my junior year. And I was telling you before the show that we heard about this kid from Dedham who was apparently going to Maine to pitch. And we lit him up and he gave up like 6 runs. And then the next game we faced Rich Hill. We had no idea who he was. And it was like, how do we not know who this guy is, but we knew who the other guy was?
It's crazy. I remember my brother played in college at Fairfield University, FU, which is like kind of a fun thing to say. But
it is. Say it again. Say it again.
It's almost a swear.
In college, he faced both Ron Darling and Frank Viola.
Yeah.
And he said when he faced Ron Darling, it was basically slider, fastball, all on the outer edge, inner edge of the plate, sit down, goodbye. It was just like fascinating to watch a guy throw a baseball like that. Now, Rich is a little bit different because of what he uses junk-wise, which is special. But still, when you face a kid like that, you remember that the rest of your life.
No, he's amazing. I mean, what is he, 44 now?
44.
20 years in the big leagues. And so it's one thing when you have that, high 90s, that kind of stuff. It's filthy. People can't figure it out. Oh, can't catch up to it. But when you're a guy like Rich Hill and you can figure it out over 20 years, then there's like it's even more impressive. There's a strategic part of it. There's a mental part of it that he has over most people.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's like a year away from reaching Wakefield's record with like a win in every year. I think Wakefield had it in like 21 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Wakefield got a win when he was 45.
And how about this? Ian Brown pointed this out last night. The last 5 leaders of baseball operations for the Red Sox, Theo Epstein, Ben Cherington, Dave Dombrowski, Chaim Bloom, and Craig Breslow, have all signed Rich Hill to a contract. That's pretty cool.
What does that say about the Red Sox organization?
They know, right?
That's right.
Stability?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He'd be great, though. He would be great. I don't know if he's interested. He'd be a great pitching coach.
Yes.
He'd be a great pitching coach.
He's destined to be a pitching coach.
He'd be a great pitching coach.
He was coaching his son in Little League when he got the call. So I think he's already going down that path as well, that he'll be somewhere locally as some type of coach, which is really cool, giving back, right? That's the best thing you can do as a baseball guy like that.
617-779-0985. Let's take this. I'm not sure. Let's say, hey, Demo, you there?
Hey, good morning, guys. By the way, big fan Michael Hawley and Wallach and Rochi from way back in the old station. Just want to say that. I just have a question for you guys. I know we're all positive today, the APB theme going with Rochi there. What would be your expectancy if the Red Sox would make the playoffs? How far they would get if they could even win the first round?
I'm big.
Anyways, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. I'm big on this.
Oh, come on.
If they get in the playoffs,
no chance. They have no chance.
I'm telling you. Did you watch Bruce Bochy in the last World Series? Did you watch Alex Cora in 2018? That's what makes the difference in the great managers and the good managers.
Okay.
Cora is great at winning one game. Give me one game. He'll find ways to use starting pitchers. He'll find ways to get the most out of his lineup. Don't discount the Red Sox. Write all this down, Mike.
Okay,
So
I am.
Don't discount the Red
No,
Sox.
I'm
If they
still-
can sneak
no.
into the playoffs, they can definitely win.
right.
What is it? Is it a one-run game, or are they going out a best of three? What are they
It's a
doing?
best
in the
of
wild
3 in the
card?
first round, but you're comparing a manager of a 108-win team to this
Yeah,
team.
exactly. Like 2018.
I think the talent discrepancy was a little different, Danny.
2018
Don't
Red
discount
Sox.
it. I'm telling you, Cora's that good.
I know the Red Sox are going to work hard. They're going to have fun. They are going to do the right damn thing. That's what's going to happen.
All right, let's take a break. We'll talk Patriots. A lot of roster cuts yesterday, not only here but across the league. We'll break it all down next. Dan Roach is next with the headlines.
We're not finished writing.
Sports Hub headlines.
Jaron Duran homered and threw out to two runners on the base pass last night to lead the Red Sox to a 6-3 win at Fenway Park over the Toronto Blue Jays. The win snapping a 4-game losing skid as the Sox gained a game on Minnesota for the third and final wild card spot. Twins fell to the Braves 8-6. Wilyer Abreu added 2 hits and RBI, and he nailed a runner at the plate. Two teams face each other again tonight as Brian Bayo faces Chris Bassett on the mound. The Patriots will practice this afternoon as they begin to get ready for their season opener a week from Sunday at Cincinnati. Gerard Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we await a starting quarterback decision. Patriots trimmed their roster to the NFL-mandated 53 yesterday. Some of the cuts, among them quarterback Bailey Zappi, running back Kevin Harris as well. Sox have the third priority in the order of waiver claim. That's to be done by noon today as they hopefully get some offensive line help along the way. This headline has been brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety insurance. I'm Dan Rocha, Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
This hour, Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. John?
Coming up at 7:20, we will discuss Patriots with Mark Daniels of Mass Live. We're going to get into the Patriots right now. Yesterday, cut-down day in the NFL, and the Patriots, like everyone else, got down to the 53-man roster limit. Bailey Zappi, the biggest cut of the day, and it means that the Patriots are going to roll the dice a little bit. I think we all believe in this room that Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback of this team, correct?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. Dan, you in with this?
Yes.
Okay, so as a result, if Brissett gets hurt now, it's going to be the rookie, Drake May, behind an offensive line that is projected to be one of the worst, if not the worst, in the National Football League. Are we on board with this or not?
Yes.
Yes.
You're good with May running around behind that offensive line?
I would be good with May starting, but I know that's not going to happen. Tell me this. Can you think of the most important position in football, which is quarterback? Can you think of any team that has ever said, our quarterback is ready, but our offensive line is bad, so we're going to sit our quarterback because our line is not ready? I just don't think that happens. If your quarterback is ready to go, and look, the Patriots may say Drake May is not ready to go. They feel that he's not ready. I think he is. But if you think he's ready, why would you sit him?
See, I don't think that they think he's ready. I watched him.
Do you think he's ready?
I think he's ready, sure.
Okay.
But
would you sit a quarterback because the line was bad? Because you'd be
yes, I would.
So, but that would be a first. That would be a first in the history of football.
I will tell you why. Well, there are very few offensive lines in the last decade that have the chance to be as bad as this one. I mean, how many penalties? They had 10 penalties. The offensive line alone, 10 penalties in the last exhibition game against a team playing only backups. They had trouble with the tackles lining up right. We had guys who couldn't snap the football to the quarterback. We had guards running into each other.
I don't think it's a great, John, I don't think it's a great line. I don't think it's great. Now, I don't think it's going to be a historically bad line either.
I give you a ton of video evidence to the contrary.
Well, okay. So you've got is Dave. Just let's go individually. David Andrews, is he a bad center? No. So let's say he's an above average center in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's top 5. He's not. So you got David Andrews, Michael Winner, who is not a bad guard or tackle, whatever position you want to put him at.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He is on this team. He's a guard. It looks like.
And the rookie from Penn State. I'm sorry, the rookie from Texas A&M.
Caden Wallace. You talking about?
No,
Leighton Robinson.
No, Leighton Robinson.
Okay.
I think Leighton Robinson's good. So it's not like they're a bad line. I think they played terribly against Washington, but what they were against Washington is not who they are as a group. I think the number one thing about with Washington, other than a guy just getting trucked over at center, was it Leverett getting trucked?
Yes.
The number one thing in that game was the point of emphasis from the NFL. What we saw from Chuks Okorafor, who I have no use for, who I think
he's a starter on this team.
He should not be.
But he's going to be.
No, I think he is a bad lineman. I think he is a bad
guy.
I think
might be your left tackle.
You can't. I think he's a bad football player. But even more than his badness, I think in that game was the point of emphasis of every team has done this, and they decided to make it a point. They're trying to get their message across. They'll do it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it will go away. In October, we won't see this anymore. They'll revert to their bad habits of offensive linemen kind of getting an advantage by kind of backing up a bit, so they can deal with these speed rush. So 3 of his penalties were for that. So all those 10 penalties you mentioned, 3 of them, a third of the penalties are.
And Owenu had 1 to go, so 4 of them were for that.
So you got 4 of those penalties. 40% is just something that the NFL is trying to make a point of that's going to go away by October 1st.
You cannot.
It is not so bad as it's not a historically bad line.
You know what? You have a lot of experience. You have bad players on the field. Caden Wallace and Leighton Robinson might turn out to be very good offensive linemen. They were drafted fairly high for offensive linemen.
That won't be very good.
Well,
Let's just say good.
Whatever the case may be, middle of the road offensive linemen, guys that can block and not cause penalties. That's all I'm looking for at this point.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to be that way week one. I don't think they're going to be that way until everything sorts itself out in mid-October. The offensive line as constituted right now is bad and inexperienced. And when you have, there is nothing more important than the quarterback in the National Football League, especially if you take one as high as the Patriots took Drake May. I am not willing to risk him behind an offensive line that is still figuring itself out and is deficient on talent.
Well, let me take what both of you just said, and I think what they're going to end up with an offensive line is, if healthy, if City So is healthy enough and he's on the roster, I think they're going to go Andrews at center, and they're going to go City So and Layden Robinson as your two guards, and they're going to bump out Owendo to tackle. They've got to find that left tackle, right? Because Okorafor has struggled.
Right.
Darian Lowe just got hurt, so we'll see if he's okay. But that's where they're going to look on the waiver wire, right? To try to get maybe somebody that Scott Peters and Alex Van Pelt, there were two tackles, veteran tackles on the waiver wire.
By Tennessee let one go, apparently, that
they might take. Bob Sosi pointed out, I think it was the Tennessee kid. So I think that's your line. Now, the other part of that, though, Michael, I don't disagree with you, and I think Jacoby Brissett is going to start. I think maybe Drake May, watching him, and I was at every practice, is I think the 2-minute drill, I think the situational football, I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's just there yet. He was sped up. He was having issues trying to find guys and everything else. I think that maybe they feel like he's ahead of where they thought he would be, but I don't think maybe he's exactly 100% game ready to adjust and have the checks and balances that you need with a line like that, too. But the cool thing is, though, again, we're looking for optimism, right, today,
right,
Michael?
There it is.
Is that if you're a Patriots fan, they're going to start possibly, if Drake May was to start this first game, they could have a look of, eventually, maybe by the end of the season, if Drake May at quarterback, Jalen Poku, I think, is going to be maybe their number one wide receiver.
He's going to be good.
Javon Baker, Layden Robinson, and Caden Wallace. You could have 5 rookies starting on offense for a Patriots team that can't be any worse offensively than they were the final 6 or 7 games of last year.
Okay, Joe Milton is the third quarterback on this team, and he's fun to watch, but not necessarily ready for prime time. Some of the other surprising cuts: Antonio Maffei, defensive back Sean Wade, kick returner David Wallace, so I'm a big fan of, and running back David Harris. The Patriots at the moment have 7 wide receivers on their 53-man roster, including Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Reagor, and Kayshon Boutte, who all made the team.
And it's really 8 because if you think about Kendrick Bourne on reserve.
That's right. Kendrick Bourne placed on PUP.
Right.
That's right. The NFL waiver claim deadline is noon today.
It's like a fantasy draft.
And, Patriots have the 3rd best priority, something that upper management and Gerard Mayo have been very proud to tell us. And Ben Volen put out a list of offensive linemen that can certainly help. Phil Perry sat in that seat, Michael, and told me there is a possibility that at least one starter on the offensive line is going to be picked up today by the Patriots.
You have to. And I know that doesn't feel great. You're taking somebody else's trash and trying to make something out of it, but that's what the Patriots have to do. They're in that position. If you're Elliott Wolf, what else are you doing? Now, I know we sit here and say the Patriots are going to be no good, and Drake May, you wouldn't put Drake May behind an offensive line like this.
Nope.
Sure.
He's ready to go, but I'm not risking him.
But if you're Elliott Wolf, what are you going to do about it? You got to do something about it. You can't just sit there and hope. You can't sit there and shuffle people around anymore. If I'm him, I am living on the waiver wire all day. I'm bringing in 6, 7, maybe a dozen guys. I'm bringing every contender, I'm serious. I thought about this. Like every team that I respect, every general manager that I respect that is from a contending team, I want to look at who they cut on the line. So have a great amount of respect for local guy, Eric DeCosta, who's the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens. He's from down the road here. They're a good team. If you're Eric DeCosta, you cut an offensive lineman, I want to look at him.
Right. Mm-hmm. The Philadelphia Eagles, who were here for 2 practices, who would look like seniors in high school playing against 4th graders when compared to the offensive and defensive lines, the size that they had there.
They have a blessing. They have an embarrassment of riches on those teams. Because Elliott Wolf, otherwise, what have you done? You had an opportunity in free agency to sign offensive linemen, and you signed your own guy, and you got Chuks Okorafor.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
They really needed, and I understand, like in the first round, I'm not saying they shouldn't have drafted Drake May. Of course, you need a quarterback. So they draft Drake May in the first round. They really needed another second-round pick.
Yeah.
Or to just say in the third round, we need to move up. Maybe move up earlier in the third.
To get one of those
move
bodies.
up, or move back into the second
The
to get one of those
difference-
tackles because they were lapped, and they just missed their moment.
The difference was in the second round. Do you take the wide receiver? Or do you take the left tackle? That's where the fork in the road went, and that's where really the choice was made. You have the wide receiver of the future, but you don't have the left tackle. 617-779-0985. We will discuss a former Patriots employee who I do not like. We'll get these two guys their opinion.
How
of
do
it.
you really feel?
Yeah, we'll see. He acted like an ass during the Super Bowl to our afternoon show, and he is speaking again on the Patriots quarterback situation. We have Mark Daniels coming up at 7:20. Dan Roach coming up next with the headlines. Top of the hour, 98.5 The Sports.
the Sox throw out 3 different runners on the base paths. Sox gaining a game for the third and final wild card spot as the Twins lost to the Braves 8-6, so Boston 4 games behind Minnesota for that third and final spot. Sox and Jays meet again tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo on the mound for Boston. Football, Patriots get back to work today in Foxborough. Gerard Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we await a starting quarterback decision. Pats trimming their roster to the NFL-mandated 53 players yesterday, with Bailey Zappi and Kevin Harris among the players that were cut. The NFL waiver claim deadline is set for noon. The Pats owning the number 3 priority as they look for offensive line help. I'm Dan Rocha on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app. The 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Now, more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
This hour of Touch and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Hour number 2 of the show. John Wallach, Michael Holley, Dan Roach on a Wednesday. Fred is out the rest of the week. Hardy will be back tomorrow. Coming up later in the show, we'll talk to Jared Karabitz about the Red Sox. We talked a lot about the Red Sox in the last hour. It's an all-positive day for Dan. He is convinced that the Red Sox are still in it. Michael and I do not think that's the case, but we were talking. Yes. Yeah, it's over.
Done.
It's over. It's over. It's done. But we were talking football before we went to break, and I wanted to continue that here. We were discussing the Patriots' quarterback quandary, whether or not to play Jacoby Brissett in Week 1 or whether or not to play Drake May behind a very porous offensive line in Week 1. But what in our lives is set unless we really get the guy who knows it all? And I think we can all agree that the guy who knows it all is Michael Lombardi. At least he is certain that he knows it all. Have you ever run into him?
Oh,
Professor?
sure.
I mean,
No,
you wrote an entire book on the Patriots organization. I am sure that you ran into Mr. Lombardi at one point.
I've interviewed Mike Lombardi, have known Mike for many years. I've seen him at many stages of his career. I remember when he was the general manager of the Raiders. As a matter of fact, he started off in Cleveland with Bill Belichick, as he'll tell you. They together with the Browns. And so his loyalty, you need to get somebody who's as loyal to you as Mike Lombardi is to Bill Belichick. It is next level. Whatever you want me to do, Master, I shall do. I mean, it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
He's like that not when he's got a microphone in front of him. He's like that in normal life as well.
This is why it's significant. You may not like him. Now, he's entertaining. He is entertaining. The content is A+.
Oh, yeah.
It's A+ content.
The sit-down he had with Felger and Maz during the
Fegler.
Super Bowl.
No, not Felger. Fegler. Remember, he kept calling him Fegler.
Right, of course.
But he doesn't sugarcoat anything, that's for sure.
Yeah. And anytime, so what's so fascinating about listening to Lombardi is anything that he says that's Bill. That is Bill. You are hearing Lombardi when he talks about the Patriots and his takes on, especially operationally behind the scenes. That is Bill Belichick speaking. But Bill is so smart, he can let Lombardi say it. And then if I come back and say, well, that's how Bill felt, and Bill was like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That was Lombardi. So he's got a couple of guys like that out there where they're speaking for him, but then he's smart enough to say, well, I didn't say it. Neil Cornrich is another guy. Neil Cornrich technically is not Bill Belichick's agent. Technically is not. However, you know, when Cornrich was representing players, it's just amazing how players would sign these team-friendly deals with the Patriots. Oh, that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
So Mike Lombardi, when you hear him speaking, just think he's not far off from getting the innermost thoughts of Bill Belichick.
So Mike Lombardi is making the rounds. He's got his own podcast. I don't know why, but he's got his own podcast. And he visited our good friend Pat McAfee yesterday to discuss the Patriots situation.
Drake May throws an over route, and Chris Collinsworth, I thought he was going to have an orgasm. I mean, it was the greatest play.
All right. Here we go. We're already underway. Mike Lombardi is already in full I know everything, you know nothing mode.
Right.
I know, an over route. Now, he's been an executive. Has he ever been a coach?
He's never coached.
Never coached.
No.
And already he's like, we shouldn't, it's an over route.
But, John, he has spent time with some of the greatest minds. He'll let you know. He's been
so it's osmosis.
Confidant of some of the greatest minds. Coach Walsh.
Of course.
Coach Davis, which is what Bill Belichick used to call Al Davis, Coach. Coach Davis. And Bill Belichick. So he can tell you. So you take that. I'll say over route if I want to, John Wallach.
Right. Very good.
Drake May throws an over route, and Chris Collinsworth, I thought he was going to have an orgasm. I mean, it was the greatest play he'd ever seen in his life. He was going crazy. It's a over route against cover 3. I mean, like, that's his day one install. It's like, come on.
All right. It's day one install, guys. It's day one install. Drake May isn't great. Why should Collinsworth back this guy up? Drake May's just doing what any quarterback would do. There's no skill there.
And what does Chris Collinsworth know about football?
That's right. That's right. Collinsworth never played in the league. Oh, that's right.
Right.
He's part of a Super Bowl team.
Why don't you pee on Patriot fans' cornflakes, will you? You know what I mean? It's like you're looking for any kind of progress and hope in this franchise right now, and you see Drake May go out and progress from week 1 to 2 to 3, and it was a nice play. So why pee all over that if you're him? Why?
Why would you do that, Michael?
Well, you know why.
Yes, I do. I know exactly why.
But I'm sitting on my couch, and what blew me away more than Drake May, more than Brissett's shoulder injury, is Mayo admitting that the head coach of the offense, the head coach of a $9 billion organization, $9 billion. If Kraft puts it up for sale, he's going to want $9 billion. The man in charge of the offense is Alex Van Pelt. What is Mayo doing if he's not in charge of the offense, defense, and the kicking game? Like, are we that collaborative? And then you're telling me we're going to develop Drake May because we've got, Alex Van Pelt, who got fired in Cleveland because he couldn't get Deshaun Watson to play good? And I'm not trying to say Alex Van Pelt's not a bad coach. I really don't know, but I know this. If it's worth $9 billion, I'm not letting Alex Van Pelt run the team. I can promise you that. I'm just not.
Okay.
You know what the obvious counter to that is what? What's the obvious counter to that? You let this man run this franchise and take a couple billion off if you want a couple years ago by having Joe Judge and Matt Patricia teach Mac Jones how to be a quarterback. At least Alex Van Pelt has been in the game, has played quarterback, and has been an offensive coordinator around the block and been there, done that.
Exactly. Like it's so and I'm serious. It's so entertaining to listen to, and it's funny, and he's got some bombast to him, but we kind of weave around and ignore some of the flaws of the Belichick regime. That's how you know it really is. It's almost like, if you've never had a drink with Bill Belichick and heard him rant about the state of the state of his job prospects, the state of the Patriots, this is it. This is it. This is Mike Lombardi doing it, and kind of ignoring some of the finer points and stuff that we recognize and what you just point out here. And there's another thing there, Dan. I don't know if you have the clip where he says this would be like Xerox turning over their operations to a mid-manager. I said Xerox.
Yeah. How old are you exactly?
How many companies ago was that?
Xerox. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for a fax, Michael. I'll be right back to you. I don't.
If you go to Xerox and ask them, I don't think you can go to Xerox.
Imagine having a guy who is an expert in offense lead your number 1 draft pick who happens to be a quarterback you're really basing your franchise's future on. No, let's have the guy who is a linebacker and a defensive coordinator. Let's have him take over the development of the guy you're linking your franchise to. That'd be perfect. Why not do that?
Well, is that maybe the Patriot way that Doug Peterson's referring to when he talks about Mac Jones down in Jacksonville?
Oh, that's exactly what he's talking
about. Exactly what he's talking about. All right, is there more, Danny? All right, let's hear the rest of it.
This is another cut about the offensive line in Mayo.
Oh, even better. Okay.
They have no tackles, Matt. Mm-hmm. They're tackle poor. They signed Michael Iwanu. They move up because they wanted him to play right tackle. Here's what's missing in this lineage. They want him to play right tackle. He ballooned up to 360, so they had to move him into guard. He was playing right tackle last year when he was in half decent shape. Soon as they paid him, he got fat. Now he's got to play guard. So they were counting on him to be the right tackle, but nobody mentions that, right? Because they're friendly in there. They're no longer hostile to the media, so everything's fine. But, I mean, this has got disaster written all over it. And I'll tell you this. They lost a lot of close games last year. They played really good on defense. That even though I know Belichick was selling pizzas for 24 years in South Boston and basically did nothing for the Patriots at all, it was all Jonathan Kraft that won those Super Bowls. But just...
God. I mean,
somebody's angry.
Bring it on, baby!
What?
Bring it on, Mike!
At least try and cover your tracks. At least try not to sound like a mouthpiece for the former head coach. I mean,
wow.
He's making no... If I were him, I'd at least try to make it sound like I wasn't speaking for Bill. I mean, and when we started this segment, you were saying get someone who loves you like Mike Lombardi loves Bill Belichick. Listen to what Mike Lombardi just said and tell me that he didn't have that exact conversation. Those words were not spoken into his ear by the former head coach of this team.
Would your spouse do that for you? Would your wife do that for you?
No.
Would your wife?
The answer is no.
Zero chance in this household.
No way. Like everything he does. Has he ever been critical? I'm asking.
My wife would.
Has he ever been critical of Bill?
No, not of Bill.
No. Because, again,
Not
you
a
could
Bill.
go back to that offensive line. Who brought that offensive line in for the most part, right? I mean, Vidarian Lowe was brought in by
The whole
Bill
thing.
Belichick, right?
Everything.
I mean, Michael Wenu was brought in by Bill
This
Belichick.
disaster of a roster was formed by Bill Belichick.
And I love Bill, and you respect the heck out of Bill as the greatest coach ever. But what happened the last 5 years is created by Bill Belichick.
He lost his general managing touch. The last let's go 5 years, because we got to go back to the biggest decision, the biggest miscalculation of his entire general managing career, which was allowing Tom Brady to walk out the door and not giving him the contract. Compare it to now. Okay, I don't want to get off track, but think about what Dak Prescott is asking for right now. Essentially $60 million a year. And think back to what Tom Brady, the greatest ever, wanted.
$15 million more than that for 3 years.
He wanted $25 million a year.
Right.
You could have had Tom Brady for $25 million.
And Michael, he said it for, I don't know, being in production meetings and everything preseason, he said it for 8 years that all he wanted was to play to the age of 45. That's what Tom Brady wanted, and he wanted to do it in a Patriot uniform. That's it. He didn't ask for, I'm looking to play till I'm the oldest player ever to play. I'm looking at 50. He wanted to play, and he said it for like 5, 6, 7 years previous. I just want to play till I'm 45. That's it.
So, Bill, Bill lost his general managing touch. He started missing tap-ins. I mean, like first, second, third round picks. So, like, John, there's so much stuff here. There's so much. There's so many ways to go. I know there
are. All right. When I mentioned the roster, let's specifically talk about the offense. I saw a graphic yesterday. From 2013 to 2022, Bill drafted 26 skill players on offense. All right, 2013 to 2022, 26 skill players. You want to take a guess at how many of them are still left on this team?
3.
That's exactly right.
Wow. What, Thornton?
Ramondre Stevenson and Jacoby Brissett.
Wow.
Jacoby Brissett. It's really
he's kind of
two.
not really left remaining on this team.
He's with the team, so that gives him a...
Right.
But Ramondre Stevenson and Tyquan Thornton are the only 2 left. And I guess you could... Chad Ryland technically counts, and he just got waived. So, but... And a skill position player on offense, but all the remember the Rohrwasser mistake. I mean, there are
Chad Ryland.
Whatever the case may be. I just said that.
The fact that you trade, the fact that you trade
not
up,
listening right there.
Cole Strange. I mean, it's just like
you trade up for Chad Ryland in the 4th round.
Yeah,
like who does that? Why are you drafting? So why do you draft 2 kickers in a 4-year span?
Yeah. And a punter,
and both of them are just flamed out.
If you listen to what Michael Lombardi said, and again I go back to Bill is the GOAT or what have you, but maybe that's what Bill should have done at some point, was hired a head coach of the offense, right?
Geez, that sounds like a simple answer.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what he needed because we all trusted him with the defense.
Now, Josh McDaniels, I will
Yes.
say this. Josh McDaniels was the vice president in charge of offense.
Let me follow up
And he called him that.
with you guys, right? If Josh McDaniels never had a yearning to be another head coach again, if he had stayed with Mac Jones, where do you think Mac Jones and the offense would be? And I don't know. You know what I
Mac
mean?
Jones would still be here. He would still
How
be
good
here.
would they be, though?
Well,
That's
no,
the question,
that's
right?
the thing. He wouldn't be great. I mean, the scouting report on Jones when he came out of Alabama was he's got a high floor and a lower ceiling than everyone else in the first round. He'll assimilate to the NFL faster than anyone else in his class, but he'll never be better than a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. So what we saw his rookie year was as advertised, but in order to get him to that ceiling and keep him there, Josh McDaniels would still have to be here.
Yeah, I think if and it's a great question, Rochi. I think if Josh McDaniels were still here, and you got Mac Jones, John's right, Mac Jones would be here. And I think you'd be looking at a situation, you'd have a healthier Daniel Jones. So that situation with the Giants, like, we got this guy. We don't think he's great. We'll see what happens this year, but we're going to be looking to upgrade. I think that's what you'd have with Mac Jones. We never would have seen the side of Mac Jones that we saw starting in 2022. Yeah. The quick game effing sucks. You know, like showing up the coaches.
Right.
And I understand the frustration because you got these bozos who should not. I go from Josh McDaniels. I come into the league with a Super Bowl champion, a guy who was on Tom Brady's hip, who knows what he's talking about. I go from him in year 1 to Joe Judge and Matt Patricia in year 2, and I'm supposed to sit here and take it. So we never would have seen the frustration. What we'd be focused on the physical limitations. What John said, the physical limitations of Mac Jones, which are plentiful.
We'd be arguing, okay, is he a borderline top 10 quarterback? Boy, the Patriots could do better, but he would still be here. 617-779-0985. We'll continue the Patriots discussion with Mass Live's Mark Daniels. We'll go through all the roster cuts and what the Patriots will do on the waiver wire today. All that is next. It's Toucher and Hardy on a Wednesday.
all over the place. It's hard to know what he actually thinks. Gerard Mayo, if he means that, might like the idea of starting Drake May. I don't think it matters because I don't think it's up to him.
Dulac and Bertrand, weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub. You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
The Sports Hub, Toucher and Hardy show for a Wednesday. Boys off today. Hardy will be back tomorrow. Michael Holly is here. Dan Roach is here. Mark Daniels covers the Patriots from MassLive.com. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Mark, good morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
It's good to talk to you. Well, you know the storylines here is we are 1 day removed from cut day. Bailey Zappi is gone. Patriots rolling the dice now. Jacoby Brissett appears to be the starter, but if he goes down, it looks like it's going to be Drake May behind that offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I think, as training camp went on, Bailey Zappi's reps just frankly disappeared. It got to the point it was a little depressing just watching. It's like, oh man, you're keeping Bailey around maybe to take some lumps in the preseason, but you're not really doing much with them in practice. So I think as training camp went on, it seemed pretty clear that Jacoby Brissett was going to be the guy to at least start in week one, and they were going to roll with Drake May as the backup. And I think as Drake May improved and the way he performed, I bet the Patriots feel comfortable with that. I mean, knock on wood that nothing happens to Jacoby Brissett, but their plan is Jacoby Brissett quarterback to start, and Drake May develop him a little bit here and see when he goes.
Do you feel comfortable with Drake May playing it all behind the offensive line, which is underwhelmed to say the least?
No, not at all. It's a dumpster fire, and they need to figure it out before Drake May takes a snap. They really do. It's just so important, and I feel like we've been talking about this offensive line for 3 years in a row now. You know what I mean? Like honestly, we can go back to Mac Jones. He had a good offensive line in 2021, and that's really where it ended, right? That's where it stopped, and as he regressed, the offensive line issues got worse. I mean, last year, I believe there was 43 sacks or 45 sacks. The year before, it was 40 sacks allowed. Now, that was the most sacks allowed by a Patriots team since Matt Castle, in 2008. So it was bad, guys. And frankly, I don't see how it got much better. So until they rectify that problem, no, you keep your number 3 overall pick away from that offensive line.
Mark, I asked these guys earlier if Bailey Zappi's career is over. So tell me what other parts of the country can experience Zappi fever like we did in New England a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you wonder, if we'll be a team like the Detroit Lions, or even, with a team like the, Jets, or someone who just has an experienced starter who's making a lot of money, and they just, they need another guy who has some experience. I think like Bailey Zappi would be good in a room who already has an established veteran. Like, he's started 8 games over the last 2 years. I think he can be a fine backup / spot starter in the right system. But it got so bad for him here that it clearly wasn't going to be here. And frankly, him and Mac Jones, they didn't mix well. That wasn't a good combination, and I wouldn't put it on Bailey Zappi. I wouldn't put it on Mac Jones. It was just a situation where you had 2 young quarterbacks who both thought they deserved to be the starter, and frankly, neither one was good for each other. So because of that, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, put Bailey Zappi with a young rookie quarterback. No, put him with a veteran who knows frankly what he's doing, knows how to handle himself. And that'd be the best place for Bailey Zappi, somewhere far away from New England.
And I think he needs a new start, right? That's kind of what he needs. And last week, they brought out all the quarterbacks eventually, to talk to us, and there were 2 podiums set up, and Bailey Zappi went over to one, and we were waiting for Drake May to come to the other, and he just no one went over to him, and he had that puppy dog look on his face, like, it's okay, fellas, you don't have to come over and talk to me. And I was like, oh, it's just sad to watch the poor fella. So I think he needs a new start. Mark, what do you think we'll see happen, noontime, number 3 priority? What do you think we'll see the Patriots do as far as claiming maybe offensive linemen today?
Well, hopefully something, because Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf have both been talking up this waiver wire thing for a while. I mean, frankly, the Patriots have been talking about the waiver wire since like May. I want to say I remember April, the owners meeting. Like, it's been such a long time. They've been talking about being number 3 in the pecking order. Like, all right, guys, you better do something because yesterday there were no trades. So I automatically look at like offensive line, like who's actually out there. There are 2 tackles, I guess you want to call them, who have played for Alex Van Pelt. One is Jerron Christian. He started 8 games last year in Cleveland. He got released by the Titans. Frankly, his PFF numbers are really bad, but he did start 8 games for Alex Van Pelt. Another one is Chris Hubbard, who just got released by the 49ers. He played for Van Pelt a variety of years as well, but he's 33 years old. So it's like, all right, did he get released because he's 33? If the Patriots want to go more of a younger route at tackle, someone I looked at was Lucas Niang. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Chiefs a few years ago. He's 26 years old. He started for the Chiefs, I want to say, in 2021, so he had some tackle experience.
Boy.
Yeah,
this is what we're talking about.
Started for the
here.
Chiefs win?
This is what
like 3 years ago.
How
3 years
bad
ago.
it is. This is what we're talking about. And one of these guys
makes you miss Trent Brown.
Could theoretically
He's
start
starting
for this
against the
team
Patriots
against Cincinnati.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that's where it is. So overall, looking at the roster, Mark, they had some surprising cuts yesterday. David Harris, Sean Wade, Antonio Mafi. I like David Wallace. I hope he comes back to the practice squad. I think he can help this team special teams wise. But what surprises you most about this roster as it is constituted right now?
I'd say there's 3 things. One, I was surprised Kevin Harris was cut. I thought he was the number 3 running back on the depth chart. I mean, it looked that way really during all of camp. And I'd say the last week, JaMychal Hasty sort of made a push where a lot of us said, all right, they're probably going to keep 4 because JaMychal Hasty is going to make the team. But to see Kevin Harris cut, honestly, that was the biggest surprise cut for me. I thought he looked solid in the preseason. And the Patriots, I thought they liked him, but maybe he's back on the practice squad. And then the other 2 things would be the number of receivers and cornerbacks they kept. 7. That's a big number. And I think it really went down to them wanting to keep some young players. So at receiver, it was like, all right, we're not going to cut Kayshon Boutte. We're going to keep him and 6 other guys. And then at cornerback, they kept Marcellus Dial, their only rookie defensive player who was drafted. And then it was Isaiah Bolden, who didn't play last year. And now you look at the roster, guys, and it's like 18 first and second year players. So yeah, they're this is a youth movement. They're in the infancy stages of a rebuild. And I think that's seen in this 53-man roster, just a lot of young guys.
Now, I know as a reporter who is looking for content daily from the Patriots, you don't mind that Jerod Mayo has kind of muddied the waters here with the quarterback situation. First, Jacoby Brissett was the starter. Then it was, hey, well, Drake May has outplayed Jacoby. Intrigue and all this stuff. And I would say it's missteps if you're on the outside looking in. But for us, content people, we love it. But let's say there had been no missteps from Jerod Mayo. Let's say everything is perfect from camp. And give them an extra a talented offensive lineman. What's the best we should expect going into the 2024 season for this Patriots team? The best we can expect record-wise.
Best.
If everything's perfect.
6.
6 wins.
6 wins. I'll give them a 2-game improvement over last year.
All right.
Yeah.
What we do, Mark, what we do is we look at the schedule, and I understand things change, and teams you think are going to be good aren't going to be good. I'm more worried about this team and its talent level, and you just mentioned it, 18 first or second year players. I don't see 4 wins, let alone 6.
Well, you sneak one on September 8th against Cincinnati. You sneak that first.
Oh, is that right? You catch them by surprise?
But let me step in and say, Mark and I witnessed this last year, right? So their defense should be fine. Okay, even though, Barmo, the good thing is he's set to return. That was good to see him designated for that. And they lost Judon, who they lost early last year as well. They went 4-13. And Mark, the last 6 or 7 games of the season were some of the worst offensive games I've ever seen an NFL team have. So you go with that premise that they won 4 games last year and their offense can't be that bad at any point in this season. Then I go with maybe 6, right, Mark?
And I'll say, weird things happen, like you end up facing a backup quarterback, and that happened a few years ago, right? The Patriots played a ton of backup quarterbacks, and they played someone like David Blau by the end of the season. So like weird things happen. I think like if you're asking me like honestly, what do I think the Patriots record will be? I'd say 4 wins. You said best case scenario. I would say best case probably 6, but they look like a 4-win team to me because of their defense, but also it's a defense that lost Matthew Judon and doesn't have Christian Barmore. I guess if you want to be optimistic, you say, well, there's some players they could get back. There are 3 pup guys, Kendrick Bourne, Sion Takitaki, and Cole Strange. And then designated to return on the IR was Marte Mapu, and I guess Christian Barmore was also designated to return. So theoretically, you get those 5 guys back at the midpoint of the season. Maybe you can pull off a couple of wins and a couple of upsets. Like even like the last game of the season, right? It's the Buffalo Bills, which you should lose, but it's the last game of the season, so maybe they're playing a backup quarter because they have a playoff spot wrapped up. So maybe there's a win, guys. And then
All right.
There you go.
All right.
I
you
love
know
it.
what? This could be Dan Roach's all-positive day.
Right.
That's very impressive.
What would my odds be of getting a parlay of the Red Sox sneaking into the wild card spot and the Patriots making the playoffs? What would my parlay odds be on that one? Huh?
Plus $1 billion.
Have you ever thought about retirement? You could retire.
You can
Okay.
retire
Just
right now on that.
And buy a couple of stations as well.
I don't know if you want to do that. But Mark, so much of what the Patriots defense does is based on the talent of Christian Gonzalez. And we've asked a lot of people this, but we haven't asked you this, and I'm curious to find out what you think. Christian Gonzalez wasn't exactly a lockdown corner in joint practices or the preseason. Is it one of those deals where he's kind of pacing himself, or is there a problem here?
Yeah, we're going to find out really soon here because they just face a murder's row of receivers, starting with Jamar Chase and then DK Metcalf. I wasn't overly impressed with him in training camp, and I do wonder if he's more of a gamer. Now, he said to us he was trying out different things in coverage. He was, experimenting in practice. So, all right, maybe that's the truth. I hope so. In 4 games last year, he looked like a legit number 1 Pro Bowl type cornerback. But, out of the gate here, it's Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, and then maybe Brandon Ayuk, and then Tyreek Hill, and then it's Stephon Diggs, and so on and so forth. The season gets going, it doesn't get easier. So they need him to be good. I was concerned in training camp because even in one-on-ones, it didn't seem like he was doing that well. And I'm like, why is he giving up so many catches? I've seen Stephon Gilmore, and I've been in training camp with Darrelle Revis. Those guys never gave up catches because they hated it. I think Christian Gonzalez is wired differently. And I think, come, whatever, less than 2 weeks, he'll play better. I do. At least I hope so, because, the worst thing that could happen for them is Christian Gonzalez doesn't look like a number 1 cornerback.
All right, Mark, thank you. I don't know if we feel better about this team or worse after talking to you. I'm not sure which direction we should be leaning in.
It's sobering. He gave us a dose of reality. Thank you, Mark.
All right, Mark. Everyone read him on MassLive.com. Mark, thanks a lot. Is he gone? He's gone.
Yeah.
He had other things to do.
When I said thank you too early, I think he thought I was saying thank you, bye.
Oh, is that what it was?
I was just saying thank you, but he was like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah.
Out, disconnected the Zoom, everything gone.
Wow.
Gone.
Maybe he's on a monthly plan or something where he has minutes.
The host has disconnected this meeting. No, the host has entered this meeting. No. He
it says end meeting for all, Michael. And I'm like, no, the meeting's gone.
That's it.
He's gone.
Fastest exit in recent memory. All right, we're going to take a break. We have Dan Roach doing headlines this morning. And Dan volunteered to do this, and you have been spectacular so far, sir. Thank you very much for doing
A lot of pressure
for us today.
I mean, it's just been amazing. I'm learning.
He's been really, really good.
It's educational. It's entertaining.
He's been really, really good. I have a Celtics question for the two of you when we come back, and I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if you think. I don't know if you're going to think this is far out on the lunatic fringe, but I'm going to ask you two a Celtics question about their future when we come back. So that's right around the corner. Dan Roach has you next.
Sports Hub headlines.
Well, Jaron Durant.
1065 The Sports Hub.
Celtics trying to regain the momentum and the 20-point lead with 1:49 to go in the third. Everybody on their feet in the Garden. Too nervous to sit. Jalen from 19. Switch. It's back to 21, exactly where we were at halftime.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Thanks, Dan. It is the Wednesday edition of Toucher and Hardy. Fred and Hardy off today. Hardy back tomorrow. Fred off the rest of the week. It's John Wallach, Michael Holley, and Dan Roach until 10 o'clock here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We've been talking basically baseball and Patriots for the entire show up until now, but I wanted to kind of take a break and talk Celtics a little bit, and that's why we played the Jaylen Brown highlight here coming into this segment. I had an argument with a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and this was kind of a subject that surfaced on social media a week or 10 days ago, but I wanted to get your opinion of this. Theoretically, by the summer of next year, the Celtics will have a new owner in place. We should have a pretty good idea who is going to buy Wyc Grousbeck, or technically his dad's, stake in the franchise. The Celtics, if you include luxury tax penalties, it's about $400 or $500 million for next year. Say the new owner, whoever it is, if it's not Jeff Bezos, decides, I don't want to pay that much. We need to make a change on the roster. One quick way to do that is to dump salary for draft picks. Would you, as a Celtic fan, and assuming the numbers work out, you wait and see which team has the number one pick in the draft next year, which is supposed to be a sure shot kid, Cooper Flagg.
Local guy, right.
Maine,
New Balance guy.
But, he was, he, by all accounts, did very well against the U.S. Olympic basketball team. He's going to Duke. He's the number one guy, has been anointed the next big thing. Would you, as a Celtic fan, be on board if the new owner says, you know what, I want to trade Jaylen Brown and that massive contract to the team with the number one overall pick and replace Jaylen Brown on this roster with Cooper Flagg?
No, absolutely not. You wouldn't be okay with that. First of all, dude, if you were cash poor, why'd you buy the team in the first place? You got to be a moneyed guy or a moneyed person to buy the Celtics. You know what the number is. Franchise values continue to escalate, even for a franchise like this one that doesn't own its own arena. You know what kind of money we're talking about. So you can't buy the Celtics, Roachy, then turn around and say, well, wow, money. This is out of control. I need to start selling off some assets, even though that could happen.
Here's what I would do.
I'm saying. Now, hold on.
Even though that could happen.
You can't just drop that and leave.
But,
That's also a possibility.
But you're asking me, though,
happen.
if you're a Celtics fan, do you want that? No.
Okay.
Because two timelines don't work. It does not work.
No. So here's my contrary to that.
Okay.
And I love Jaylen Brown. I love everything he brings to the table, especially what we've seen the growth. But if I can get Cooper Flagg, the team who has the number one pick is not going to do that trade. If they offered Jaylen Brown for the number one, they won't do that trade. Cooper Flagg is the next generation's LeBron James. He's already proven that on the Olympic level.
However, how many overall number one picks are supposed to be good?
I don't care. This kid, every
out?
time, did you read the Chad Finn story on him? Every step of the way, this kid has gone above and beyond. And now he faced the Olympic team, and they were all wowed by this kid's ability. So I think that he's an elite player. And right behind him, by the way, is a kid named A.J. DiBonza out of Brockton, who is going to be projected to be the number one pick in the 2026 draft. He's going to see 7 schools this fall. Will make his decision, play 1 year, and basically become the number one pick of the draft. He was a former WBC MVP.
See, this is why we're leading up to this, Dan.
But
we weren't talking about 2026.
Okay, the team would do it. Would you? All right, so
I would do it in a heartbeat.
You would trade Jaylen Brown
in a
for
heartbeat,
Cooper Flagg?
Michael.
Are you kidding me?
In a heartbeat.
No, because you don't know what he could be the next great thing. He could be, but then Andrew Wiggins was a number one pick. So
right.
I'm saying Andrew.
But I don't think Andrew Wiggins had the hype and had the.
He sure did.
Did Andrew Wiggins face the competition that Cooper Flagg faced
at Kansas?
But the
At
Olympic
Kansas.
team, I'm talking about the Olympic team.
Okay, but there it's an exhibition. I know he did well. 17 years old, great. There's
Everything about it says this kid
Okay.
is different.
But we've heard that before. We've heard that from a lot of guys. We've heard that he's going to be the next one. Remember, who's the other kid from Duke? He wasn't number 1 overall. He played for the Celtics. Jabari Parker. Remember the hype around Jabari Parker?
Number 2 overall.
Duke has a lot of these guys.
Yes.
Hey,
Unfortunately, that's true.
Oh, wow. Markelle Fultz, number 1 pick. So I understand that he's got size and he's got rare ability. But if you're a championship team, and this is I'm not trying to dismiss Cooper Flagg. Good for him.
Yeah, you are.
But maybe I am a little bit. You're a championship team. You're looking at a small window of maybe you can collect 2 or 3 championships in a 5-year period. So 3 and 5. And today, 3 and 5 makes you a dynasty.
Right.
And
that's a great argument.
So you would give up that opportunity because even if somebody does that deal, somebody says, yeah, we'll take Jaylen Brown and we'll give you Cooper Flagg, you're not going to win the championship.
You don't know that.
Oh, I do know that.
You don't know that.
You've just replaced the final. You're going to trade the finals MVP, the Eastern Conference MVP, a guy who picked up Luka full court, a guy who was making some big shots in clutch time. You're trading that, and you think you're just going to just keep going? You're going to wind up in a championship again? With a rookie? No, not happening.
Go back in time then, and would you have taken right now, and not knowing what he was going to become, would you trade Jaylen Brown if I told you next year that LeBron James was the number 1 pick overall?
Okay, well, LeBron James is in a different category altogether.
I don't know.
No, you're trying to tell me that Cooper Flagg is going to be LeBron James?
He might be.
First of all, LeBron James looked like he was 75 years
different
old
player.
in high school.
Yes, he did.
Okay, I mean,
I'll give you that.
He was
Cooper
a
looks
grown
like he's
man.
17.
He was a grown man in high school. Was an all-state wide receiver, like a really strong, playing with and this is not a U.S. basketball team scrimmage. LeBron James was playing with Michael Jordan at Hoops the Gym when he was in high school. LeBron was there. Jordan was there. Antoine Walker, all these pros. LeBron had hype in high school and exceeded the hype.
John, write this down.
Believe it or not.
I know. I'm writing it.
20 years from now, when Michael and I are doing the show with
exceeded
you, we'll talk about
the
it.
hype, but you can't say you think he's going to be LeBron.
All right, let's get a call.
So you think he's going to be the 3rd best player in NBA history?
No, I don't want to put that on that kid.
But
so I'm just saying.
LeBron is
so let's just
probably
see how
second.
the process plays out. John was just trying to get us going. He got us going.
And you know what?
Point
It
well
worked.
taken,
Chad
right?
in Framingham, what do you think?
Hey, good morning, guys. So we got to be careful with the comparisons because this is the same situation as a few years ago when Ben Simmons was coming out of high school before going to LSU. He was recorded playing pickup games with LeBron, James Harden, and all the same hype was being said. He's the next guy. He's freakish athletic point guard, and we've seen how that turned out. So when it comes to these comparisons of guys playing with the current pros, we all just got to take a step back and breathe.
You're right. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm caught up in the Cooper Flagg hype, obviously, and it's just fun to talk about. And like I said, I don't mess with the chemistry this team has because if you're a Celtics fan, that window is right now, Michael, and I get that.
What's the
I
caller's
certainly
name?
Get that.
That was Ben.
Give him an outstanding. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because he agreed with you.
Sorry. I went back in time.
Hey, somebody
sorry.
call on my side just to make me feel a little bit better. Anyone from Maine? Anyone? And if you don't get him, John, then I'll trade for A.J. DeBonza the next year.
You're missing the real headline of the story. That was something that went over your head. That was old time. That was old school with Michael and I.
Old school stuff.
There was the lightning round. There was give him an outstanding.
Give him an outstanding.
Neither.
Oh, sorry, that's the old lingo. You guys
old,
used to work
that's
together.
the old middays at
I
the other place
apologize.
thing. No, the best part about it is the third gentleman that the two of us worked with hated all of it.
He didn't like it.
Didn't like it at all. Give him an outstanding.
Who wants to have fun on the radio? Who wants to do that? Why do that?
I just want everyone to know it is not me who said that. It was the other gentleman in the room who said that. 617-779-0985. More of your calls coming up. We'll dive back into baseball. Still coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll talk to Jared Carabas and Mike Lockhart next hour. Interesting take on what he thinks is going to happen with the Patriots. All of that around the corner after Dan Roach's headlines at 8 o'clock here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fenway, Jaron Duran led the way for Boston with 2 hits, including his 20th home run to lead off the bottom of the first. And with that 20th, Duran became the first player in MLB history to notch at least 10 triples, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 40 doubles in a single season. Duran also had 2 assists in the outfield as the Sox threw out 3 different runners on the base paths. The Sox gained a game for the third and final wild card spot as the Twins lost to the Braves 8-6. Boston 4 games behind Minnesota. Sox and Blue Jays meet again tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo on the mound for Boston. Football, the Patriots get back to work today in Foxborough. Gerard Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we wait for a starting quarterback decision. Pats trimming their roster to the NFL-mandated 53 players yesterday, with Bailey Zappi and Kevin Harris among the players that were cut. The NFL waiver claim deadline is set for noon. Pats own the number 3 priority pick as they look for offensive line help. And in the U.S. Open in tennis on the men's side, Karen Khachanov outlasted Daniel Evans in 5 sets. It was the longest match in U.S. Open history at 5 hours and 35 minutes. Don't let joint pain keep you off the court, course, or trail this summer. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke of BostonProlotherapy.com. I'm Dan Roach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
Boston, the greatest sports town in America.
We have a farm. I have about 200 pigs here.
We get to spill beers on each other without worrying about spilling beers on people.
Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Now, more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Hour number 3 of the show. John Wallach, Michael Holley, Dan Roach here until 10 o'clock. Fred is off the rest of the week. Hardy will be back tomorrow morning here on 98.5 The Sports Hub inside the Town Fair Tire Studios. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to watch Toucher and Hardy every morning on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and smash that subscribe button.
Smash it.
To keep up to date with all the best moments from Boston's Home for Sports. Maybe we'll get into the lightning round a little bit later.
Oh, I hope so.
That would
John.
be great. They give him an outstanding thing. It just might have made my day before the top of the hour. That was fantastic.
And I'm going to make your morning tomorrow morning. I think I'll get here even earlier.
No, you're not.
Earlier
That's the thing.
tomorrow morning.
And for those of you just tuning in, I'm usually one of the first people here every morning. I get here about 10 after 5:15 to get ready for the show.
Running late, huh?
And well,
That's so
usually when I host, I'm here a little bit earlier. When I walked in the door at 4:58 this morning, Michael Holley and Dan Roach were already here. They weren't putting things down. They hadn't just arrived. They were full, feet up on the desk, talking to each other like shooting the breeze.
We were warmed up.
You were both ready to go. And Dan Roach, who volunteered yesterday to do headlines, and we thank him for that, was here a little bit early to prepare. But I'm still not sure why you were here at 5 in the morning.
Because I'm just excited to do the show, John. You know, hey, John, I just take the craft seriously. You know,
right?
It's like one of those interviewing questions. Hey, tell me what your weakness is. Well, I just care too much.
Right.
I care too
give
much.
way too much effort.
I just can't stop. Somebody needs to just lock the doors to the place because I just want to. First guy here, last guy to leave.
You say, what's your dream job? This is it.
This is it.
So I'm putting everything I have, heart and soul, into it.
I understand. But you're listening at 8:55 this morning for your chance to score a pair of tickets to the 28th annual Comics Come Home, Saturday, November 2nd at TD Garden. Don't miss Dennis Leary, Bill Burr, Robert Kelly, Ronnie Chen, I hope I'm saying that right, and Sam Morrill, among others. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Follow at Cam Neely FDN on Instagram and Facebook for the latest information. That is coming up at 8:55. Before we went to break, I posed a question to these two fine gentlemen. If this happens, say that a new owner wants to cut salary off of the Celtics roster, and the trade was made, Jaylen Brown to whomever has the number 1 pick in next year's draft, and you would bring back Cooper Flagg, would you do it? Michael Holley says no.
Nope.
Dan Roach has a little bit of a different state of mind. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Dan Roach would do it. Dan Roach
Dan Roach would do it.
As much as I love Jaylen Brown, and I get Michael's point about that window right now with this team, trying to repeat starting this year, I think it's better. You're better off with Jaylen Brown. I'm on the Cooper Flagg hype train, so I'm kind of there. And then the following year, AJ DeBonzo Brockton, I want him too.
You've got Cooper Flagg somewhere. It's a combination of LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and
Larry Bird.
What's your point?
All together. And what's wrong with that?
Yeah, exactly.
For the record, I'm on Holly's side. There's no way in hell I'd do that deal. Not a chance. You have Jaylen Brown, who is a key part of a championship organization, just won the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. You'd be insane to draft him
And he's
for
not-
an 18-year-old.
and he hasn't
Insane
hit
to
his
trade him
prime
for an
yet.
18-year-old kid.
We need Chad Finn to call. Did you see the story in the Boston Globe on him, on Cooper Flagg?
Yes.
Chad did that story because he's a Mainer. We need him to call in and say, listen, this is the hype. The hype's worth it. This kid's legit, blah, 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 blah.
Everyone from Maine, give us a call.
That's right.
617
I went to school in Maine for 1 year.
098. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's great. Jason in New York.
Thank you.
Quickly, save
Thanks.
us. Jason in New York. You're next on 98.5.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Roach.
take it easy.
That's
Bye.
fantastic. Jason, how are you?
Morning, guys. I just want to chime in on why this is a dumb idea. Because Cooper Flagg could be the most athletically gifted player ever, but who knows what's between his ears? We've seen plenty of number one picks in the history of sports. I know the previous caller said Simmons, Ryan Leaf comes to mind, that they can't handle it. They can do all these amazing things, but if he can't be the guy and hold the responsibility of that, what's the point? Thanks, boys.
All right.
Yeah.
But where's
and
he going to school, right? That says it all. Huh?
What, Duke?
He's going to Duke. You know,
They don't
none of those
miss-
guys went to Duke.
They
You go
don't
to
miss-
Duke, you know you got everything. You got the
about
entire
Zion?
makeup, everything you need.
Zion.
Smarts.
Hello, Zion.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the
No.
physical traits. He can't stay healthy, but he's got them.
He's got some other problem. He can stay healthy,
Female and otherwise.
Yeah,
he's got
that's
problems.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. If you go back to do some show prep, just for show prep purposes only.
Sure.
His
Look online at the girl.
his
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend.
His ex-girlfriend is still very angry at
But
him.
one of the things she did point out, this is some good reporting. She said the reason, part of the reason he struggles is because in his bathtub, she always finds snacks and sodas and all kinds of stuff.
Isn't that amazing?
That's what she said.
That's
what she
amazing.
said. But she said it a lot more colorfully than I just did.
All right. As much as I hate to
What's
leave
your
that on the side of the road like I am going to, there are so many pitfalls for me if I continue.
I want to see, you're a talented guy. I want to see you work your way out of that one.
I'm not working I don't care how awkward the transition is. I'm saying thank you, Michael, and we're moving on. Because, I have this certain reputation for liking women of a certain kind. I'm going to
Really?
leave that alone. Yes.
Never heard that before.
I know, that's very true. So, quickly, let's move to baseball, Dan. Dan is, and when we started, I want to make sure everyone understands, Dan is usually an all positive day guy, but today, Dan has decided to really be positive. And I don't know why today Dan has decided to go all the way off the deep end the other way, but we were discussing the Red Sox with Dan at the start of the show, and the Red Sox won last night, and they are now 4 games out of a playoff spot. Yesterday, they were 5 games out. We weren't really sure if they had a chance, and the general feeling in the room was between Fred, myself, and Dan that they did not. However, the Red Sox won last night. They were flawless in the field. And, Dan, you're all in on the Red Sox being in it now. Is that correct? One night makes all the difference in the
I
world.
have a little hope this morning that, again, if they can – I've said this before, that this team, with what they've gone through in the last several years, that if they made it through the summer, September 1st, and we're in contention for a playoff spot, it's a pretty good summer if you're a Red Sox fan. They've got that. So they're there. They're within 4 games of that third and final wild card spot. So, if you can get it down to 1 or 2 games in the last 10 days or a week to go in the season, anything can happen. That's the beauty of it with 30 games left to go. So why not give them a chance? Because they just keep fighting. You try to put the nail in the coffin and it just won't go in all the way because they just find a way to get it done when they need to get it done. And if they could just get the consistency they got last night, defensively especially at home where they've given up more unearned runs than by far almost twice the second team in baseball, I give them a chance because of what they're doing. And if they can get into the playoffs, I give them a chance.
Best take of all.
I give them a chance to win that
fantastic.
first round series because of Alex Cora and what we saw him do in 2018 and what Bruce Bochy did beautifully and with the Texas Rangers. That people say, well, what makes Alex Cora great? What makes the great managers is the ability in those playoff series to just shorten everything. Your bench, your starting pitching, your relievers, you just all out, balls to the wall. We saw it from Bochy against last year in the World Series. And I think you'd see it again with Cora. So I wouldn't, if they get in, I wouldn't write them off winning a
The
series.
pitching is the pitching, man. You can't change the pitching.
I know what you're saying.
Can't change the pitching. But Tanner Houck and Cutter Crawford are how far past their career high in innings pitched?
Yeah.
And they got far more out of Tanner Houck this year. Imagine a wet towel and you're squeezing out every last drop. That's what happened with Tanner Houck at the middle of this month. He was an all-star the first half of the season. His ERA is not good since the all-star break, and anything they get from him is a bonus. Cutter Crawford was in the top 5 in the American League in ERA at the end of May. Look where he's landed since then. They are bringing in guys like Rich Hill to save this pitching staff. The trade for both of those relievers has not worked out.
Or James Paxton.
Or James Paxton is
other
hurt.
than that, they're fine.
You can't go into the same miracle of miracles. They chase down Minnesota and get that last wild card
I'm just giving
spot.
you the you said what's the reason for any optimism? There it is right there.
Sorry.
So, John, is it realistic? Probably not.
What? So it's not realistic.
No, probably not. No.
Okay.
But I think if you're hopeful as a Red Sox fan, that's what you hope for.
All right, I need you to paint the picture for me, Rochi, because we've seen guys carry lineups. We've seen that here in playoff runs, championship runs, whether it's Manny or Ortiz. I can see Devers doing that. I can see Jarren Duran doing that as a table setter, a guy who can get you doubles, triples, homers, and we can do it all. But I think for the playoffs, to get to the playoffs and to succeed in the playoffs, I think you need 2 pitchers, 1 starter, 1 reliever who can just kind of like one of those relievers who can go 2 or 3 innings for you, and a starter who is just a stud. So who are those 2 people on the Red Sox? If this happens, they need those 2 guys. Who would those 2 guys be?
I would say that the starter could be a Bayo. Right, all of a sudden everything comes together for him, like we saw 2 starts ago, where his changeup looked like Pedro's changeup, and finally we saw, I guess, the promise of what everybody had been looking for when it comes to a guy like that. So that would be my guy on that side of it.
You don't have it.
And then you use like a Nick Pivetta out of the bullpen and everything else, and you use a bunch of starters, and your reliever obviously got Kenley Jansen in the back half, and then it would possibly be one of your guys that you'd have to get this big. Chris Martin gets remarkably healthy. You can go 2 innings at a time and do things like that. But I think you have to rely on the rest of your starting staff and everybody else to kind of get you going to win a short-term series, when you put it that way.
And, I know you guys said earlier, you don't hold Cora responsible. I said this happens to Alex Cora's teams down the stretch. They kind of fall apart. And, okay, it's not Cora, but this is what happens. Like, you just named some people who are good, but this is why you pay. This is why you have to pay, because
totally agree with you.
You just don't have the elite talent enough. You need somebody to carry you.
Right. You say in a short
At some
series,
point,
like the
I
Yankees,
need to be
right?
carried.
Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that kind of guy.
Baltimore has that guy now in Corbin Burns.
Right.
But the thing the Red Sox now have that they didn't have last year or the year before is a lot of redundancy in their farm system. And guys, they have more prospects than they can possibly play at certain positions. I mean, Christian Campbell, he plays second base, shortstop, and center field. Well, those spots at the moment are going to be taken.
By one guy.
Right.
By the same dude.
It's true. No, you're absolutely right. And you know what? If Marcelo Mayer ever stays healthy, he's going to be here. Kyle Teal is a catcher. You have and a guy, Mikey Romero, is a first-round draft pick, just got promoted to Portland. You have a lot of redundancy in the farm system.
Roman
Anthony,
guys.
Another outfielder. I mean, you got a lot of guys. You can now afford to trade some of these top prospects and get the pitcher that you desperately need on this roster.
And that's why Craig Breslow was brought here, right? Is just to get the pitching, to find pitching. It didn't work out his first time around here at the trade deadline because both Sims and Garcia and Paxton are all hurt. So that's probably, a major fail on Breslow's part. But at least he did something which Red Sox fans were looking for. But I think that's the future. That's where they've got to find some pitching. And if they have to go out and buy, because they're the Boston Red Sox, buy a free agent or 2, go do that as well and get back to that level, that championship level, now that you've established and are starting to continue to establish the core players that you want to grow and develop on that young team. Almost like when we had Mookie and Jackie Bradley Jr. and Bogarts all coming together at that point. Give these guys a year, what have you, and then boom, take off.
If they want to, John, though. That's the question. Do they want to?
They have to at this point.
Well,
Michael.
but do you think ownership wants to do that? Wants to make that type of investment?
I don't know. That's a great question. But they have to, right? You kind of waffled it poorly the last several years because you didn't think you wanted someone to come in here and make yourself the Tampa Bay Rays or whatever. No, you're a major market team and you owe it to your fans to pay the highest prices in baseball. That if you've got this core together and ready to go out and win another championship or two and set your legacy forever. If you're John Henry and company,
the problem is the trust isn't there between the fans and ownership at the moment. And every word out of Tom Werner's mouth is a step backwards for this franchise. You will admit that, right?
Yeah, but I think what Cora...
It's being positive today.
I'm sorry, that's my fault. I'm leading you down.
However, he said, but.
With Cora re-signing here, that's a sign of faith in ownership, too, that you got to go do what Michael just described and what you just described.
All right, how many times have you been to the Red Sox locker room this year?
No, just like 3-4 times.
Really?
I've been all Patriots all the time.
I know, but
my
that
son
speaks
got married. I went on vacation. I'm like, come on.
The season started in April. Dan, the season started in April. There were a lot of games between now and then.
For 2 months, I was on the road with the Celtics and the Bruins. So it's like they won a championship.
He was hanging out with winners. Listen, he was hanging out with winners. He was hanging out with, like contenders. How about this? He was hanging out with contenders.
Were you at spring training or no this year?
No.
Okay. This has really been a bad baseball year for you.
It's been tough. I said it to my daughter last night. It's funny you said that, too, because we were talking about different things you want in life and what you're trying to achieve and everything else. And I said, yeah, the one regret I have this year is I haven't gotten over to the Red Sox as much as I'd like to. Physically, I couldn't. It just didn't work out that way.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I still get to watch the games and everything else. It doesn't mean I don't love the game.
But, I mean, you spent most of your professional life standing in that clubhouse making friends with players.
But what do? We adapt.
We adapt.
Right?
We adapt. And,
that's the modern way it is now. Your company asks you to do this, you do that.
You didn't miss anything. I mean, you didn't miss much. I mean, you missed some moments, but look at them now. They're finally their record and who they are that's finally lined up. They're like 3 games over 500.
Yes.
Now that's what they are. They'll probably finish 82 and
78,
80,
whatever that is. 84 and 78.
Yeah, somewhere 83, 79. Give them 83.
83. I had him for 75 at the beginning of the season.
So better than expected.
More reason to take the Patriots over, right? You underestimated the Sox, boom. Underestimate the Patriots, boom.
He has done. Listen,
he
has done it. He has brought the positive.
Michael, come on. There's still an hour and 41 minutes left.
Any opportunity to be negative, he has turned it around into a positive story.
You know what we can do as people who are listening to this show and are inspired by Dan. I think you should reach out to Dan on Twitter. We're going to try and do the email segment an hour from now. So I always get these great emails.
The email bit.
Some of them, the email bit. Let's do the email bit at 9:20. If they want to reach out to you, Rochi, and back up your positive day or call you incorrect, how do they reach out to you?
At Rochi, ROCHIE
And Michael? I know.
This is wrong. I'm going to do this, but this is so.
Don't.
I'm going to give you the right one. I'm just telling you, I haven't posted in so long. But at Michael S. Holly.
How would anyone get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out and say, Mike,
it depends on who they are.
Chuck on the shoulder.
It depends on who they are. There are lots of ways to reach me. At Michael S. Holly.
At Michael S. Holly. Do you remember your Twitter password?
X. Oh, it's right here. It's automatically go to.
All right, I'm just saying, if people want to reach out to you, give you the virtual chuck on the shoulder, say, "Attaboy, good job."
Yeah, or something else. That's
or
fine.
Something else. Either
something
way.
Else.
How much negativity do you get on social media? I'm curious, the two of you.
Of course.
You get negativity?
Absolutely.
Sure. It's social media.
Especially you, Dan. How much negativity can you get?
I get it.
Of course.
Well, give me an example. Not read it, but paraphrase it for me.
Stuff that people say is just if you say something on a sportscast on Channel 4, they come in and you're dead wrong on that, and that kind of stuff. And it's just Out of control.
Okay, and Michael, you're
Why are you happy? That's what I usually get to.
That's right. What the F is wrong with you?
I don't get those.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you? What are you so
You sure
happy
you were
about?
born in this state?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you get?
Oh yeah.
What negativity do you get?
I expect it on social. Here's the big question is, who doesn't get trolled or who doesn't receive any kind of negativity on social media? It was kind of built for that, wasn't it?
Yes.
You ain't kidding.
Like if you don't get it, something's wrong.
All right. So
if you don't get it, you're not doing it right.
That's a good point. Those are the ways to reach out to Dan and Michael, and we will attempt to do the email bit in an hour from now. One guy who's very positive is Mike Lockhart, and we're going to bring him in, and he's going to discuss the Patriots with us. That is next, coming up at 9 o'clock. Jared Carrabis on Zoom. We will have him in to further the Red Sox discussion, and maybe a little Bruins mixed in between now and then, too. All of that coming up Wednesday program. It's Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Toucher.
listening for your chance to score a pair of tickets to the 28th Annual Comics Come Home Saturday, November 2nd at TD Garden. We'll be giving those tickets away. We were talking baseball. We'll get back into football here, and to lead us off, because we have Mike Lockhart here, and I like Mike's point of view, and it goes along with Dan Roach's point of view in a way. But first, let's talk to Joe in Leominster. Joe, what's up?
Hey, guys. I just kind of want to touch on 2 quick points here. Number one, with the offense keeping 7 receivers and Bourne on PUP, is that going to change the philosophy where we were hearing it's going to be a run-heavy based offense where now we only have 3? And the second part, if Bourne's on PUP and we have 6 capable receivers, why is Tyquan Thornton on the team? Dude's been developing for almost 3 years now, but that's all. Thanks, guys.
I have my point of view. Michael, you want to go first?
He had somebody who stood on the table for him. I'm guessing it's Matt Groh. Still has the ear of Elliott Wolf. And remember Matt Groh talking down to everybody when he was asked about the selection of Tyquan Thornton. They went up. They got Tyquan Thornton. And we know he was drafted.
Speed, right?
Yeah. He was drafted before some really productive guys. He said, I'm sure you guys have been, grinding that Tyquan Thornton film. So in other words, I know what I'm talking about. You guys don't. So Matt Groh is a Tyquan Thornton guy, and they held on to him. He had I guess Alex Van Pelt, John said some nice things about him in camp. I just don't see it, man.
Yeah, he said he had separation, on the long ball, and he's their guy, and Van Pelt was fully backing him, and their starting trio, if you look when they set up most of camp, was him, KJ Osborne, as well as Pop Douglas when he was healthy. So it was those 3. I do think that Jalen Polk's going to eventually emerge, but that's why they're sticking with Tyquan Thornton, because they think he could be a deep threat. And I talked to Thornton this past week, and he said he's learned a lot. It worked out with Pop Douglas in the offseason. It just feels better about his body, learned what to do, what not to do, and he feels like he's ready to come into his prime right now. So that's the collective feeling in Foxborough. Will it last? That's the big question.
Two things. First of all, I like how Tyquan Thornton decided to work out this year as opposed to the first 2 or 3
I think
he
it's
was
from
here.
what he learned.
Maybe I'm 6'2", 160 pounds. I'm probably not going to last in this league. I can run real fast, but in this league, everyone else is bigger than me. Maybe I should start working out to absorb some of the punishment I've been getting that's getting me hurt. And to answer the caller's other question, the reason the Patriots have 7 wide receivers, 8 if you count 8 if you count Kendrick Bourne, because they just trying to find 2 or 3 that will actually be good.
I totally agree with you on that, John.
That's the reason they're
keeping a bunch
carrying
of guys
7.
to find out who exactly they have.
Throw a bunch of stuff at the problem and hopefully something sticks.
But I like a couple of them. I'll just say quickly, I like Polk. I think
I like
Polk,
him too.
I like
but
Polk.
who knows
I like
if he's going to be good this year?
So out of all their receivers, Tyquan Thornton is my least favorite as far as just playing the position. I just don't think he knows how to play the position, whereas Polk does. I know Pop Douglas does. Bourne is hurt.
KJ Osborne does.
KJ Osborne does. That's another
receiver.
one. Yeah, Osborne does. Bourne is hurt, but he knows how to play the position. I just think Tyquan Thornton doesn't know what he's doing.
And he has no fight when he goes up to get the ball. He doesn't even try to go up and get the ball against another cornerback. So that's probably been the hugest issue for him, is if he doesn't just run straight and the ball doesn't come right to him, he has no value. He can't catch it.
So Mike Lockhart is here. We had a discussion after the show yesterday, and Mike had an interesting take on what he thinks is going to happen with the Patriots season this coming year. We had Mark Daniels on earlier. We asked him how many wins is this team going to have. He said best case scenario 6.
Right. This is best case scenario. Let's not set it up like I think the Patriots are going to be good.
No, it's that kind of day. Come on, you do it, Mike.
This is the offensive line gels and is solid.
Yeah, solid. Right,
solid.
Not great, but
maybe
solid.
They found a couple of receivers who can catch some passes. So this is how I look at it. And it's not really, that I think the Patriots are going to be great. I think you look at the schedule and people just look at it and say, oh, they can't win any of these games. There's 2 winnable games. But after week 1, you're probably not going to win in Cincinnati, right? Most likely.
No, Michael Halley has to pick them off.
That's one of those.
That would change everything, wouldn't it?
Remember last year?
It would change absolutely nothing to me.
Yes, it would.
If they win in Cincinnati, they win 5 games.
No,
instead of 4.
But just think. I'm not calling for it yet. I'm not doing my predictions yet. I'm just saying, as we get closer, John. As we get closer,
I understand. Everyone's waiting. I got
it. If on September 9th, if you're talking about a Patriots 30-24 win over the Bengals,
30 points they're going to score.
That's what I'm saying. But John. That's my point. You don't see it. So if you actually see it, it would change.
If they win that game, it's going to be 10-9.
It would change everything. Hey, but if they won 10-9, if they beat the Bengals, they're 9-point dogs right now. Don't ask me why I know this. They're 9-point dogs.
Let me get my BetMGM app.
If they win that game, that changes everything you thought about the team.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, come on.
Okay. So listen, that week one, anybody can win week one. I firmly believe that. Week two is wildly different. You know, the Patriots could come out, get blown out against Cincinnati. They come home week two against Seattle. Seattle has a home game week one. They come out to Foxborough. I think that's one of those sneaky winnable games.
West Coast
week
to
two.
East Coast.
Weird things happen
Rookie
from
coach.
week one to week two.
The first 2 weeks are strange.
Yeah, very different. Okay, so then week three, Thursday night division game against the Jets. Weird things can happen in division games. A punt return, a fumble, an interception. There's your
Week
second
three
win.
is at
It's at the Jets.
At the Jets.
Now, Thursday, and Mike
It's
has a
Thursday
point.
night.
Thursday is the great equalizer. You know,
Yep.
you
Got
only
it.
have less time to prepare. People aren't necessarily healed up from the previous week.
Got an old quarterback.
Things are a little
Jets have a
sloppy.
very old quarterback
Things are more
coming off,
sloppy.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so then a few weeks go by. They're not going to win.
So what are we at, 3-0 now? Are we at 3-0 or 0-3?
2-1 here. We're
Okay,
2-1, okay? Week 7 in London. Now, Jaguars
Love
play in
it.
London a lot, but those games stink, and that game really could go either way. I mean, neither of these teams are very good, and it's in London.
The Jaguars, it's a home game. If they play London.
Yeah, technically.
They might have Mac Jones just come in for a series
that'd
or
be
two just to rub
Throw
it
a
in.
touchdown at the
Hey,
end.
don't revert to your Patriot ways, Mac. Go in there and eliminate the opponent.
Okay, so week 9 at Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee's that special. They have a bad quarterback situation. I don't think Levis is that great. but
Rookie
we'll
coach.
see. Then let's go to December 1. Indianapolis comes to town. Who knows if Anthony Richard will be on the field? I think that's a winnable game too. Then you have a week off and you go to Arizona, so they should be rested up. That is somewhat winnable game. And then week 18 against Buffalo, they may have nothing to play for. That could be your
How many wins did we
win.
get?
I think that's 7.
That's 7. Yeah,
Pretty good. 7 wins.
That is
7
best
and 10.
case scenario.
7-10.
Yep.
7-10. So in those 7 wins, how many wins go to Brissett? How many wins go to Drake May?
Oh, good
I'm
question.
going to say it's like 6 to May and 1 to Brissett.
So you're not. So what I'm hearing is not really a Jacoby Brissett fan.
You know what? I like him starting the season. At some point, the handoff is going to happen.
All right,
Whenever
when
it
is
happens,
that?
that's
When
fine
is
with
that?
me.
Let's talk about this. When is that in your view?
Okay, in my opinion, I really think it's a wait-and-see situation. If Brissett comes out and plays horrible the first 2-3 weeks, I think you're going to get a lot of pressure to play May, and by week 5 or 6, you're going to see him.
Well, you just said that Jacoby Brissett's going to beat Cincinnati and is going to beat the Jets.
No, I said they're going to lose to Cincinnati.
Oh, they're
I
going to lose
said,
to Cincinnati.
Seattle and New
Seattle.
York.
Oh, so they beat Seattle and New York. Brissett's going to be the quarterback for that, presumably.
Hey,
you can't bench a guy
he
who's on a
helped
hot
beat
streak.
the Houston Texans on a Thursday night one night with a couple of touchdown runs, so maybe he can do it again.
I think this is far and away the most optimistic look
I
at the
like it.
Patriots that we've heard, and you've outdone Dan Roach.
And I don't even
that's
really believe it. That's
saying
the best part.
Love you, Michael.
So if Lockhart, if they let's say they beat, if they lose to Cincinnati, right?
Sure.
You got them losing to Cincinnati.
Yep.
What kind of game do you see that being? Do you see them losing by more than 9 points, for example? I'm just throwing that number out.
I honestly feel like that one could get out of hand.
Oh.
If a couple of interceptions and Cincinnati's cooking on offense, that's going to be a tough.
So asking for a friend here, so you wouldn't be inclined to take the Patriots and the points.
I'd focus on the over/under, Michael.
Yeah, I don't. I try not to go near week 1 just because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest spread in the NFL.
Yes.
Week 1, yeah.
Which makes me tempted to take it. See, I'm drawn to those lines.
Your
I'm
final
drawn to
score,
those.
Bob Sosa, your final score.
45
Cincinnati 35, the Patriots 6. Back in a moment.
How many O-line penalties?
How many
in
conniptions
that
is
game?
Zolak going to have watching this thing when Thornton drops another pass and gets hurt?
More penalties than points. How about that?
Ooh, that's a good prop.
Yeah.
Good
I
one.
like that a lot.
Very good.
Wow. All right. So that's the positivity for the day for the Patriots. That's as good as it's going to get, Dan?
I love it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great
Yeah,
job, Mike.
Thank you.
From all of
But
us.
John, you don't see it. Lockhart, help me out here. I see because John is just being entrenched. He's being inflexible. If Now, you expect the Bengals to blow out. We all expect the Bengals to blow out the Patriots.
Yes.
Okay. Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt. I'm not rooting for anybody to get hurt. Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt. There's no weather. There's no calamitous situation. It's just a nice day in Cincinnati, if those even exist. But there's a nice day in Cincinnati.
Yes.
And they play just a great game on the first opening weekend, and the Patriots actually scored 30 points.
It's not going to happen.
And
I'm not worried about this scenario because already you're wrong.
Lockhart, I'm going to talk to Lockhart.
You
here,
better
okay?
because
All
I'm not giving you what you
Lockhart,
need
they scored 30 to 27. Patriots win. Doesn't that make you think, all right, Ramondre Stevenson, 105 yards. Antonio
Keep going, Mike.
You can't even say this with a straight face.
We got more. There's more.
What's wrong with you?
Antonio Gibson, 6 receptions. A couple of check downs, but he has, a long of 14 or 15. He's got some wiggle. He got some stuff. Your third down back. You know who looks good? Who looks good?
Who's that?
Hey, take this, Mike Lombardi. Michael, it's a winner, by the way. It's not on Wanyu.
Yeah.
It's a winner. Right. Looks good at right tackle and at right guard.
He's playing both. He better play both.
Tyquan Thornton.
Pop Douglas breaks a screen for a touchdown, wide receiver screen, and then Thornton
Tyquan
icing on the
Thornton.
cake 75-yard ball.
Yeah, go route.
Go.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. One catch, 75 yards.
That's
touchdown.
the only route he can run.
Okay.
So let's hope,
They win that game. You mean to tell me you're not saying?
No. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to say it's a lightning strike. It's week 1. Cincinnati
How does
clearly
lightning
wasn't
strike
ready.
and they scored 30 points?
No, what I'm saying, the whole day is one of those, everything went right. Everything went perfect. It's week 1. Cincinnati wasn't ready for the Alex Van Pelt offense because there isn't a lot on tape. Joe Burrow has a bad day. Patriots can defend. They have good players on defense, but this is one of those things that just happens in the NFL.
Alex Van Pelt in his bag. He's got the
bag.
He's got the card up. You don't know what he's going to say next. He's got it. Oh, what's coming?
Waiting his whole life for this one
There's
moment.
something.
Right?
Here we go. I've been trying to call plays for the last. They let me do it in 2009. Then they let me do it in the playoff game when the head coach had COVID. Then they shut me down.
And then Pelt calls Lombardi and spits at him. It'd be great.
Lockhart, does that change anything?
Yeah, Lockhart, you've been very, very inspiring.
17-0 according to Holly.
But no, victory.
That's where we're leaning.
But if they beat
take
Cincinnati,
in the
that changes your outlook. Now you go up to 8, right? Instead of your best case scenario 7 and 10.
I think we'll stick with 7.
Now you're up to 8 and 9.
Let's stick with 7.
I want my parlay, right? What are the odds on my parlay?
I
thought you guys were fun.
More.
I am.
Patriots will have more penalties than points week 1. I like that a lot.
Statler and Waldorf.
What are the odds on that? Let's see if we can find the odds on that.
That's a degenerate special, right?
You know what? We'll talk
bet.
to Kendra tomorrow. Hopefully we can get an
love
answer. 617-779-0985. Coming up at 9 o'clock, we will discuss baseball and the Red Sox with Jared Carabas. Maybe a little Bruins mixed in. And anything you guys want to talk about, give us a call. It is Wallach, Holly, and Dan Roach on a Wednesday. Dan's got the headlines next.
the Sports Hub.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Be listening at 8:55 for your chance to score a pair of tickets to the 28th Annual Comics Come Home, Saturday, November 2nd at TD Garden. Dennis Leary, Bill Burr, Robert Kelly, and more. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Follow at Cam Neely, FDN on Instagram and Facebook for the latest information. Again, that's coming up at 8:55, a mere 8 minutes from now. And real quick, we are going to do the email bit.
The email bit.
At 9:20. It's John at 985thesportshub.com. If they want to contact you on Twitter, Rochi, what do you got?
ROCHIE at ROCHIE WBZ, Rochi WBZ.
And even though Michael has not posted in about 17 years, what is
at Michael S. Holly? Don't forget that S. Don't forget that E in Holly, HOLLEY.
They both of them tell me they get negative stuff online.
That's okay.
I disagree with that.
That's okay.
You two very nice.
You're
guys.
allowed to.
So
bring it on.
So we had a situation yesterday. The Bruins have not yet signed Jeremy Swayman. Training camp opens 3 weeks from today, and Jeremy Swayman is a restricted free agent. Depending upon what website you look at, the Bruins have about $8.5–9 million of cap space. Jeremy Swayman is really the only goaltender left standing after the trade of Linus Ullmark to Ottawa. So what you have is a standoff. Swayman wants, if you listen to some media reports, $9 or $10 million a year. I'm sure the Bruins are coming in under that, but you only have a limited amount of space for the Bruins to fit Jeremy Swayman in. Ultimately, he's going to be the goaltender here, one way or another. It's just a question of what the number is. Neither side seems particularly worried about this, even though the hockey season continues to sneak up on us. But Swayman has been making the media rounds. He has done a couple of interviews, and he did a podcast this week, the Shut Up Mark podcast. And you say, well, what's the Shut Up Mark podcast? And Dan and I were talking about this before the show. This guy is a new guy on the scene. He's a hustler, Dan. He had Matthew Judon on right before they traded him.
In the night of I think the night of the Mayo confrontation, the confrontation with Mayo and Matt Crow and Elliot Wolf, I think he had him on that night to talk about his contract. So
this guy,
every day he's hustling.
This guy,
what?
Classic.
Of all the things to
You
come
just
out of
don't
your
TLC
mouth,
on me?
that's pretty
Classic.
impressive. We're going to have you rap this
man.
later. We're going to give you the lyrics and have
Look
you
at that.
rap this at
And
9:20.
your timing. Oh,
That was really
fantastic.
impressive.
Phenomenal timing.
Can you believe that just happened?
I can't.
That's really
I'm so
something.
glad. I'm so glad I was here to witness this.
But you'll be so happy at 10:01, and then he can just
if I had been
hop into the negative
driving,
world again.
If I had been driving and heard that, there would have been like some kind
An
of
accident.
or
I know I
something. So
would
this
have
is
had
great.
one. But good for you, Dan. You can still surprise us after all these years. So anyway, Jeremy Swayman went on the Shut Up Mark podcast and talked about his contract negotiations with the Bruins.
No one else really knows what this is like. Your first, presumably, longer contract. What is that like from an athlete's perspective?
If you were to ask me that same question a year ago, I would answer it truthfully, and I would say it's scary. It's a lot of resentment towards people that want you to succeed, and when you're not getting compensated for your endless efforts and doing what you do best, it's a nerve-wracking feeling.
All right. All the interviews he's done, he seemed very calm, cool, and collected. You know, he hasn't been worried about anything. This paints a very different picture. This paints a picture of a guy in his mid-20s that very much wants to get paid, and the Bruins are holding the line on him. That's what it sounds like.
But did you have a problem with that? I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a
answer.
problem with the answer at all. This is a very mature way of looking at it. But
that's negotiating. That's really what happens in a lot of negotiations, where you think it's going to work out, but they're not getting to the number that you want, or they're not looking at you in a way that you feel like they should be looking at you. And it does. Now, ultimately, I think the Bruins and Swayman will come to an agreement.
Of some kind, yes.
Yeah, but at some point, this is like the arc of negotiations. It's not like Hey, that's why they're negotiations. It's not like you sit down and be like, hey, I'm worth this. Hey, we agree. Hey, Hey, where's your lawyer? Let's sign the contracts. Okay, deal's done. No, it's usually some back and forth, some uncomfortable moments, and some moments where you think the deal is going to fall apart, and you do have some resentment.
What else does he go on to say, John? I want to hold my comment until I hear the rest.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked because there is more. Let's hear from Jeremy Swayman.
Because it's your family you're fighting for. And the answer I'm going to give you this year is that I've educated myself and that I understand the business side of it all. And it's given me a complete new mindset of understanding the business and how to react to it. I understand the cap is going up and where it will be in years. I understand my comparables and how I can't ruin the goalie market for other guys that are going to be in my shoes down the line.
It's nothing I didn't even think of that.
I went to the School of Business for the University of Maine, so I love the business side of it all. And I studied it, and I love it. I'm doing classes still in Stanford, part of the NHLPA program on business. I know that these experiences I'm doing now are going to help me post-career when I want to be a businessman, when I want to talk about serious stuff.
All right, so here's where I sit. If you look at the Spot Rack rankings of salary, the number one goaltender, 24-25, is Carey Price at $10.5 million.
That has not worked out well.
Sergei Bobrovsky is at 10. Andrei Vasilevsky of Tampa is at 9.5. Connor Hellebuck, the former UMass Lowell standout, is at 8.5 with Winnipeg. And Ilya Sorokin of the Islanders is at 8.25. And then there's a drop from 5 to 6. John Gibson of Anaheim is 6.4. So I'm sure the Bruins are trying to say, all right, we'll get you into the top 5 at maybe 8.25, which would match Sorokin at 5, 8.5 Hellebuck. But we're not getting you up to the 9-10 of Carey Price and company.
Who had the better year last year, Jeremy Swayman or the Tampa Bay goaltender?
Yeah, right.
Who had the better season?
I think it was
Vasilevsky or Swayman.
Swayman, right?
Yes, it was Swayman.
So he has every right to ask for the $9.5 million. But I'm sure the Bruins, who have got Bergeron and Marchand and company to keep that hometown level, don't want to go that high. And the other part of this is, if you listen to him, the Bruins did what you don't ever want to do with players, especially modern day players. He came into this wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go, and they took him to arbitration.
Right.
And when you go to arbitration, you sit and listen to what they say about you. It crushes you.
Yeah.
And that's where the reality set in for him. Now I know it's a business, so you're going to treat me like that. I'm going to treat you like this now as a business. So we're going to get what I want to get for the NHL union, for the NHL goaltenders that follow me. And I think that's where the crossroads is in this situation.
It's an excellent point, Rochi. It's like, John, the Bruins, it's not like old school. Remember, like the old school, we used to make fun of the Bruins, and rightfully so. Jeremy Jacobs there in Buffalo doesn't care about hockey, just the bottom line. How many concessions can he sell? Like, they're not that anymore. And there is a salary cap in the league, and the Bruins do spend to the cap. So it used to be you get an easy win by calling the Bruins cheap, because a lot of times they were. But there's something there where they've come into the 21st century where you give, you look at Pasta's contract is very comparable, very fair contract, but it's almost like they still have a little that Harry Sinden, how dare you?
Yeah.
You haven't
Harry
earned
Sinden
it
took
yet.
Tim Taylor to arbitration.
They got some of that in them.
At the same time, though, they have only themselves to blame for this.
Right.
After trading Linus Ullmark, they backed themselves into a corner. So I understand.
And Pasta's at 11.25,
Right.
and Charlie McAvoy's at 9.5.
But they backed themselves into a corner. They have really only themselves to blame. Caller number 10 right now to the Sports Hub contest line at 617-931-0985. We'll score a pair of tickets to the 28th Annual Comics Come Home Saturday, November 2nd at TD Garden. Don't miss Dennis Leary, Bill Burr, Robert Kelly, and others. More to be added, too. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Follow @CamNeelyFDN on Instagram and Facebook for the latest information. Caller 10 wins right now, 617-931-0985. We'll take a time out. When we come back, we will dive back into the Red Sox. Jared Carrabis will join us. It is a Wednesday edition of Toucher and Hardy. It's John Wallach, Michael Hardy. Michael Hardy. Did I actually just...
Good news out of Fenway Park last night, where the Red Sox ended a 4-game losing streak, 5 if you count Monday's suspended game, with a 6-3 win over the Blue Jays at Fenway Park. Jarren Duran led the way for Boston, 2 hits, including his 20th home run to lead off the bottom of the first. And with his 20th, Duran became the first player in MLB history to notch at least 10 triples, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 40 doubles in a single season. Duran also had 2 assists in the outfield as the Sox threw out 3 different runners on the base paths. The Sox gained a game for the third and final wild card spot in the standings as the Twins lost to the Braves 8-6. Boston 4 games behind Minnesota. Sox and Jays again tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo on the mound for Boston. Football, Patriots get back to work today in Foxborough. Jerod Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we await a starting quarterback decision. The Pats trimming their roster to the NFL-mandated 53 yesterday, with Bailey Zappi, Kevin Harris among the players that were cut. The NFL waiver claim deadline is noon today, with the Pats owning the number 3 priority as they look for offensive line help. And in U.S. Open tennis on the men's side, Karen Khachanov outlasted Daniel Evans in 5 sets. It was the longest match in U.S. Open history at 5 hours and 35 minutes. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, keeping drains flowing for homes and businesses in the greater Boston area since 1976. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm Dan Roach on Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian!
This is Boston's home for sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5 The Sports Hub. Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
High drive into right field. Down there, the pesky pole. Did he sneak one in there? Yes, he did. Jarren Duran with home run number 20. Red Sox take a 1-0 lead. Not waiting around in attack mode. He's been doing that a lot lately.
Dan, while I am very proud of you for that, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
I just thought of it. I heard his voice, that's all.
Oh,
and you know
okay.
what I had the awesome privilege to do like a month ago? Maybe
What's that?
2 months ago is over at, what's the hotel that used to be the jail? The Boston.
Oh, Liberty.
The Liberty Hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
250 Syracuse alums.
Oh,
And
God.
I was up on a...
Stop. I don't want to hear anymore.
Put it right there, John.
I'm all done.
That's it.
250 Syracuse guys.
Hey,
Come on.
These are
you guys
broadcasters?
multiply
No,
like
these
rabbits.
broadcasters? Okay.
They're all wearing like sneakers and sport coats, and they're all quoting.
And nobody says hello. They go,
and
hello.
not an ounce of personality in the room.
How are you doing? Personally or professionally?
Are you two done?
You guys all wearing orange? How
How's
does that work
everything?
exactly?
Can I finish?
Go right ahead,
go ahead.
Dan.
I'm
Sorry to interrupt.
It was no 250 alums of all different years and everything else,
Okay.
and there weren't journalists. They weren't broadcast journalists.
All right.
And we for 2 hours, I
They
was,
were just entitled a-holes.
I was up on a stage, myself and Jim Boeheim.
Okay.
Oh,
And,
God.
and we talked about his career and how he got where he was and everything else that happened over those.
Did he complain about that call against Georgetown in
he did.
08? Of course he did.
He still hates John Thompson.
We didn't talk, Dan. He talked. Because Jim Boeheim loves him some
There was,
Jim
there was,
Boeheim.
that was one-way traffic.
I
is
told
what
him.
that
I
was.
told him when I visited Villanova for the first time with my son, who wanted to look at the school. We walked into the. This made him smile. We walked into the bookstore, and the first T-shirt in front of us was "Friends don't let friends go to Georgetown," and he got a good chuckle out of
I
that
bet you he did.
Jared Carabas is the host of the Section 10 podcast. Jared
Sorry
joins
for just
us
trying to have a little fun
on
and
the
bring a little,
Volkswagen Dealers Expert
fun to
Hotline.
the
Jared,
show.
please save me from all the Syracuse talk. But before we get into baseball, Jared, I have to ask you, what is the deal with Papelbon at the old-time baseball game? I heard bits and pieces of this. What happened?
It's a great question. He showed up. He missed his flight, I think, or his flight got delayed. He showed up, and I walked over to him probably in like the 6th inning, and I was like, "Are you actually going to hit me?" Because he was telling everyone that he was, and he was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Okay, all right, sounds good." So I got in the box expecting him to hit me on the first pitch. First pitch was right down the plate, so I was like, "Oh, he was just messing with me. He was trying to get in my head." So the second pitch, I was ready to hit, and I just did my leg kick, stepped into it, and all my momentum was going towards the mound, and he hit me right in the side. It was like right below the ribs, so no bone, but it did hurt quite a bit, yeah.
So did you charge the mound?
I did, yeah. I didn't do anything once I got out there, but I did go out there.
Pap's a big guy.
He is rather large. A lot of people were saying that, I looked like I was in like the Wizard of Oz or something. I looked like a munchkin. But it was the uniforms do me no justice. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, you were swimming in that thing." I was like, "Yeah, it's because it's the old time baseball
That's
game.
right.
Like, that's what the uniforms looked
All
like."
those
back
old
then.
dudes were jacked.
So, well, here's
Yeah.
the thing. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Steve Buckley, who is a media member around here, has been around forever, holds a charity baseball game called the All-Time Baseball Game. He has, 30, 40 people come out, dress in old-time uniforms, and play. It's at St. Peter's Field in Cambridge. And, Jared, this is the first year you got invited?
No, this is like my 5th or 6th year playing.
Okay. And so this is a
Buck does a great job with it.
Buck does a fantastic. What was the charity for this year?
Boston House every single year, or Boston Home. I can't remember which one. But yeah, that's usually the charity every single year. Yeah, shout out to Steve Buckley for putting it on. But yeah, no, it's a great time every single year. It's the first time I got hit though.
Yeah, well,
First time Pat played.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I remember they wanted. Many years ago, I was set to play in this game, and Jim Corsi, the old Red Sox reliever, was going to pitch in that game, and I had a conversation with Corsi, and he looked at me and said, "You really should not get in the box against me or anybody else. You really don't need to be playing in this game."
Oh, okay. So,
I was like,
that
okay.
sounds like a threat.
And no, it was, but at the same time, Corsi back then was topping out at like 85. He was never a flamethrower when he was a reliever. And he's like, no, you can't hit me. You can't hit anyone else. Maybe give up your spot to a guy who can hit. And I was like, okay. So I never played, and it's been one of the great regrets of mine for years.
Well, you got to go out there now.
Now I have a much better chance of hitting.
By Jonathan Papelbon.
So here's the deal, Jared. We watched the Red Sox actually play a clean baseball game in the field after kicking the ball all around the yard on Monday, and they won, and Minnesota lost, and they're 4 games out with a little over 4 weeks to go in the season. Are they in it or are they not?
They're in it, but it's not necessarily because of them. Like you mentioned, I mean, the Royals are out of reach now. They tied the Guardians last night, so they're tied for first place entering play today. But the Twins have lost 7 out of 10, so you're 4 back of them. I think it's, like if the playoffs started today, I don't think that anyone would be screaming injustice that the Red Sox didn't make it. You look at they're 4 games above 500. Their run differential is +9. I mean, they're a very mediocre team. I'm not going to say I side with Dan Shaughnessy because he's overly negative, but the other day when he said they are who he thought they were, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. They're 4 games 100 and they barely have a positive run differential. Like, yes, they started the season 2 months of 500 baseball. They played really well for 2 months, and then the second half started, and they've just reverted back to what they were at the beginning of the year. So overall, if you look at the entire sample, they've played like a team that, sure, they should have a winning record, but a playoff team? No, they haven't played like a playoff team.
All right, if you could change it, okay? I've already written them off. They're dead, Jared. They're dead. It's not happening this year. But if you could change it, if you could say, hey, the Red Sox would be a playoff team this year if they had these 2 guys. Is it as simple as that, or is it a much more complicated story?
I think it's much more complicated. I think the quote that was going around the other day about how Tom Warner was talking about, if we just had better defense, if we had league average defense last year, we would have won 9 or 10 more games. Okay, well, what did you really do to improve that? Like, the outfield defense has been awesome. The infield defense has been terrible. You haven't had a second baseman. Your bullpen's been trash. Your starters have fallen apart in the second half year with like an ERA over 5. The bullpen has been the worst bullpen in the big leagues in the second half. So it's just a multitude of things. The only thing you can't really complain about is the offense. The offense has been great. I think that they've overachieved a little bit, but overall, I mean, when have the Red Sox not had a great offense? So yeah, it's the bullpen, it's the defense, it's the starters. It's not just one thing.
Jared, what are your thoughts on the 30-37 record at Fenway Park, and how did that happen?
That's the mystery, Rochi. It's like I've been there, not a ton this year, but every time I've gone, it's like the Red Sox lose, and it's like, oh, you're a jinx. It's like, no, they suck at Fenway. They don't play well at Fenway, and like I get what Alex Cora is saying is, we need Fenway to be rowdy, and it's like, well, what do you think gets Fenway rowdy? It's winning baseball games. It's a catch-22 where you want Fenway to be this uncomfortable environment for opposing teams, but we're not going to be going out there screaming like, let's go Red Sox when we're getting smoked every other day. And especially on the weekends. I know it's a weird stat, but like the home Fridays, they're what, like 3-14 or something crazy?
Yeah.
Like those should be the rowdiest crowds. Like that's when you get everyone that's like, I don't have to wake up for work tomorrow morning. I'll drink your $9 beers tonight and have a good time. They lose all those games. So I can't explain it, but the quote unquote Fenway experience this year has been miserable.
The hot take of the morning, Jared, has come from Dan Roach. And Dan's assertion is,
wait for this
if
one.
this team should somehow sneak into the playoffs, they would be very dangerous to face because Alex Cora
in an opening series, you said
in
could
an
they
opening
win?
series, Alex Cora will make all the difference. And my point back to him was, you can't change the pitching, which is gassed beyond belief. Starters and relievers at this point. Where do you land on this? Well, that's it. He's hung up on us.
I don't see any team looking at the Boston Red Sox being like, man, that don't want to face them or don't want to go to their house. I mean, not that they would have home field advantage.
No, all three games would be in the other
series.
place. Yeah.
Right. So it's I don't think that any team it's because of the pitching and defense wins championships, and the Red Sox suck at both right now. I mean, like I think in the playoffs, it's who can out homer the other team. And yes, you have a good offense. Yes, Tristan Casas is back, and that's been huge. He's been awesome since he's been back in whatever it's been, like 12 games. But the defense will cost you. Like there will be tight games in the playoffs that you're gonna puke on yourself with defensive miscues and mental errors, and just not having. And the two guys that you added at the deadline are both on the injured list on the same day. Like you thought that the reinforcements were coming. They both sucked. I tweeted the stats yesterday. Like they combined for some 20-odd innings with a 9 ERA, and the WHIP was like 1 3/4. I mean, the traffic was incredible. The runs that they've allowed, it's almost been like a run an inning, or it's definitely more hits than innings pitched. So yeah, it's Rich Hill to the rescue. I was like, is that really what this season has become? And I love Rich Hill, but like Rich Hill should have been that story of, we're in a good place because Houck is still pitching well, and Cutter Crawford and Bayo has taken a step forward. Bayo hasn't taken a step forward. Like he's been okay. Like he's had some okay starts, but he hasn't had a signature moment this year outside of signing the extension and being the opening day starter. Like that was the signature moment. And then it's just been, an ERA pushing 5 for the whole season. So yeah, in a playoff series, I'm not fearing the Red Sox at all.
So much of this,
just be a doubter then, Jared.
I agree with you, Jared. I'm thinking that they're done. I land with Michael Holley on this, but so much of this season, from the outset and now that we're here, is about the future and finding the core pieces to move forward. To that end, there's some controversy around Marcelo Mayer over the last week because he has been shut down again. Last year it was a shoulder. This year it's a lumbar strain in his lower back. Should we be worried about him being injury prone or not? It sure seems like Alex Cora is.
No, I don't think that it's an injury prone type thing. I think where you should place your concern is, if you're identifying this guy as someone that's going to be a part of your future or not, because if the answer is no, and you're trying to get his value up, well, now he's not appealing to other organizations. Like if you were going to try to make some big trade for a starting pitcher this winter, and he's not someone that you see, because Rafaela, I mean, the Red Sox have options. They have a lot of outfielders. They're going to be able to add Roman Anthony to the mix. They obviously really like Wilyer. Jarren Duran is having the best season of any Red Sox player since Mookie Betts in 2018. So you're going to have your outfield kind of set. So you can move Rafael to shortstop. You still have Trevor Story. He still works here. So
he still works here.
There's, I think that it's like, is Meyer the most expendable? Sure. Would it be nice if he came up here and contributed? Absolutely. But that's where the concern is for me, is identifying, is he going to be a guy that's here, or is he going to be a guy that's a trade piece? Because if he's a trade piece, well, now you're going to have other teams that are wondering if he's injury prone. I don't necessarily have that concern with him.
Heading into September, give me your scouting report, your front office scouting report on Craig Breslow. Who is he? What do you think of him?
That's another layered answer, Holly. I think it's more so I think he's learning as he goes, which is not necessarily the best thing for a market like Boston. I don't think that he's someone that quite has it figured out yet. I thought for sure that him coming in, we were going to see drastic change, because if you were just going to pull the plug on someone like Chaim Bloom as quickly as the Red Sox did, I'm not saying that's the wrong decision. But if you were going to do that as quickly as you did, I expected radical change. It's kind of been similar in a way. But in terms of grading him, I mean, the trade deadline I gave, I think, a C- at the time. And obviously now it's kind of turned into an F, because the two guys that got here have been terrible. And I mean, James Paxton, another, you can't really predict the injuries, but with Paxton, you have to know that that's always a chance. Danny Jansen, I mean, his OPS is in the 600s now, I guess. But I mean, like, was Danny Jansen really supposed to be some sort of offensive savior? No. I think until Craig Breslow has an off season where big names are going out and big names are coming in, I really don't think we can definitively say what or who he is. But so far, it's been a little bit of a step up from Chaim Bloom, because I don't think that we could sit here and say that Chaim Bloom would have gone out and gotten a Paxton, a Jansen, and two relievers at the deadline. That's just not been his MO either. So yeah, I think it's TBD. It's a slight improvement, but still not impressed.
All right, so let me follow that up, Jared, with yes or no in your mind. The question would be, will Craig Breslow, come spring training, have brought in via trade or free agency two big-name pitchers into this Boston market to help this team?
So Coley brought this up on Section 10, the last episode that we put out, and he dropped the name Luis Castillo, because everyone keeps talking about the Seattle Mariners as a perfect trade partner for the Red Sox, and they have, three really good young arms. But I think the Mariners have kind of proven that we're going to trade whoever makes the most money, and that's Luis Castillo. So and I love Castillo. I actually picked him to win the Cy Young going into the season. That's a name that I would target. I would be, if you're the Boston Red Sox, you've got plenty of payroll flexibility going into next season. You can take on a contract like that. That's someone that I'm targeting. I'm going after guys that are already getting paid. You don't have to give up as much prospect capital, because a lot of these guys, and I know that Theo was guilty of this back in the day, hoarding the prospects. They're not all going to hit, right? Well, some of these guys down there in Worcester right now, like Roman Anthony, untouchable for me. Christian Campbell, and untouchable for me. Like, he's burst onto the scene this year, and he's an absolute stud. And he's not just hit, he is mashed at every single level. So there are, yes, you do have prospects to deal from, but some of these guys, I'm just not even entertaining the idea of moving them. So that's where your mind sort of goes to, hey, where's a team that's super desperate? The Mariners have no offense. They have an embarrassment of riches as it pertains to starting pitching. That's the team I'm identifying, and I think Castillo is kind of the perfect fit. Whether or not Craig Breslow goes out and does it, that I don't know. That's almost like a John Henry question. Like, right? Yeah. So like, you go up there and you make the phone call, and how much of that salary are you willing to take on to kind of offset what you're sending out? And if you're going to offer the Mariners salary relief, and you're also giving them some offense, which they desperately need, I think a deal can be made. But John Henry's still going to sign off on that, because Castillo's getting paid.
Confidence is not high. Jared, you host a Section 10 podcast, which hundreds of thousands of people listen to every week. What else are you doing?
Baseball is Dead is my MLB podcast that we do 3 times a week. Nesson Plus, we do Unobstructed Views, the Red Sox alternate broadcast on Tuesday nights. And I'm right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Wednesday, 6 to 7 with Tony Maserati.
There you go.
I like, you said that like somebody who was at a Syracuse convention at the Liberty Hotel. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Jared, thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
All right,
Jared Carrabis. And yes, we're keeping it. It's in the show. The email bit.
The email bit.
The email bit is next. Everyone buckle up. It's a Wednesday edition of Toucher and Hardy.
should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
It's a segment of the show Michael Holly has waited for since 6:01 this morning.
Awesome.
It's the email bit here on Toucher and Hardy. 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can get in contact with me, John, Jon, at 985thesportshub.com. If you want to get in touch with Dan on Twitter, it's
Rochie, ROCHIEWBZ.
Okay, and Michael Holly, who is going to be with us Thursday and Friday, so
Yes.
this could certainly be helpful in the days
Bring it
following
on.
this one.
Bring it on. At
Michael Sholly?
At Michael S. Holly.
Oh,
Holly with an E.
With an E.
I thought it was Michael
Holley.
Yes. We have some emails here pertaining to you, Dan.
Oh, of course.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah. Let's see. Rochi is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Rochi is crazy. Let's see if I can get this. There we go.
Clean.
The Sox are 4 games out of the wild card. They're 5 games in the loss column away from the Blue Jays in last place. Watch them somehow go 1-2 versus both the Tigers and the White Sox coming up. Love, Ian in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be an easy task by any means. I'm just saying that if they can get within 2 games
Watch
in
out.
the final 10 days of the week, anything can happen. That's the beauty of it. So, yeah, you can look at it, and they're closer to maybe, what you don't want to have is a last place finish again, right? That's kind of how you're looking at it right now with what you're trying to build here. But you know what? It's like, then don't watch. If you're that miserable and
Okay, there it is. There it is.
Don't do it. Like, that's the way I always look at it.
Hey,
It's,
buddy.
Hey, have some fun. Who knows what can happen?
You
know,
realize
it makes it a good time.
if Toronto wins these next 2 games,
Yeah, I'm
they're
not
going to
here.
be
I'll be over on BZTV. Email me then.
Yeah, they can't throw stones at you from there. This
I'll
is
be in
the up close
Cincinnati.
personal experience.
Hey,
That's right.
What's more likely to happen? The Red Sox make a run or the Patriots win Game 1 in Cincinnati? What's more likely?
Red Sox make a run.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. I still like the parlay, and in case you're just tuning in now, the
I don't
parlay
know the odds on that.
the parlay we were talking about is more. No, not the parlay. The odds. What are the odds of the Patriots committing more penalties than they score more points in Week 1? And I think that's a pretty even bet. I think that's certainly an even bet. If the Patriots manage to beat Cincinnati, it's going to be something like 10-9. I don't expect them to hit double digits against Cincinnati in Week 1. And based on what I saw in the last preseason game, they could certainly commit 8 penalties and score 7 points. Easily.
Depends on the quarterback.
Well, it's going to be Jacoby
Depends on who your
Brissett.
quarterback
And
is.
you know what? Gerard Mayo is going to meet the media this afternoon, and theoretically, he's going to officially announce that Brissett's his starter because he promised Monday or Tuesday he was going to name the starter, and here we are Wednesday. Hasn't happened yet.
He also said Jacoby's the starter, but then he said he's been outplayed by Drake May.
Not a smart thing to do. Either of you have anything to add to the segment?
I have
What do you
one
got?
from Dave Sullivan, Sully Recruiter, on Twitter.
Okay.
For the record, Dan, I called in during the Jaylen Brown discussion. We had a discussion, and you said, John, theoretically, would you trade Jaylen Brown for the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft in Cooper Flagg, who's
Yes.
heading to Duke?
Mhm.
And I said that I would do that because I think Cooper Flagg, everything that I can see and have read and everything else, I would take a chance, and he's the next, LeBron type of basketball player. I still love, and Michael sided with the Jaylen Brown keep him. I'm fine with that because that window that you want to win now is win championships. But he said, I have Dan's back. He called in, and as soon as I got on hold, Wallach said, okay, let's switch to baseball.
Wow.
So it
Wow,
probably
look at
said,
Wallach.
I
We're
have
up against
Dan's
the
back on the
break.
caller,
Look at
and you
that.
probably said, let's
Of course.
switch to baseball.
Don't want to go there.
Right,
Up
exactly.
against the you never know
Yeah.
who's filtering the
Exactly.
calls here,
Just
who's
John.
editing it out.
Yeah.
It made it past the producers.
Everybody else was
John
fine with it.
sees it and says, no, I'm not going to give
No
Dan
way.
Roach
Exactly.
his flowers here
Yep.
on Wednesday morning. I have one.
Okay.
This is to Roach as well. Have you ever been banned or suspended by an athlete or team for negative coverage? And that's a great question.
No, but I got banned once from asking questions in a press conference. Further future questions.
Tito?
2008.
Was it Tito?
American League Championship Series. We're going into game 6 or 7 in Tampa, and I'm sitting with Michael Silverman.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back, and Michael says, ask Tito a question. I'm like, no, I don't want to ask him a question. I got nothing to ask him. He goes, ask him a question. Come on, it'll be fun. So, because nobody, at that point, everyone's done asking questions. It's
Yeah.
pre-game, just before the game, and I raised my hand, and Phyllis Merge, remember Phyllis?
Oh, of course, I love Phyllis.
She called on
Yeah.
me and said, Dan, And I said, hey, Terry, just a thought on your 6, 7, and 8 hitters in tonight's lineup. All right, and he looks at me and he goes, that's about the dumbest he starts swearing at me question I've ever heard. And the next thing I know, I see Phyllis lean over to Terry. And then he goes, I'm sorry, Rochi. That's just the dumbest question I've ever heard. Apparently, she told him that they were live on ESPN News and satellite radio. And so when we got done the press conference, Phyllis comes over to me and says, I'm sorry, Dan. I can't let you ask any more questions during these press conferences. And I said, that's fine. Next thing I know, I'm standing getting ready to go live on Channel 4. And out for batting practice, Tito comes out, punches me in the chest, and he says, I got you good, didn't I?
That is really funny. He used to do that.
You know, it's interesting.
He used to do that to Orsillo.
Oh, yeah.
After
Every press conference, he'd walk up and punch Orsillo as hard as he could in the shoulder.
But he would just like crush him before, just like undress him.
For no reason.
Yeah, just because.
Just because he was
that's
saying
how he is.
Actually, that's interesting. We'll save it for the stack, but the whole Deion Sanders thing in Colorado, where
that's why
we have to talk about that. Email here from Mike. As someone who lives in Syracuse, I listened to this show to escape from this terrible city. It's barely even a city, just a big town with a few buildings. I bet 1% of Americans couldn't point to it or could point to it on a map.
Somewhere close to Rochester, right? Hour away?
No, it's 2 hours. 2 hours from Rochester.
How about Buffalo?
From Buffalo, it's further.
It's further. Okay.
It's like I drive to Buffalo for
you're
that
right.
game.
Then I could not point to it.
I went to school in between Syracuse and Rochester.
Yes.
I went to school 45 minutes west of Syracuse.
Right.
So
and I go
right
with my buddy Al Goebel, who was graduated with me from North Andover High. We
There,
both
another-
work at
another-
WBZ.
I know.
Right?
The shout out. Yeah.
So we drive, and when you get to Syracuse, you're like, oh, okay, we're almost there to Buffalo. And it's still, it's hike and snow squalls to get to Buffalo and get out there.
It's
so
2 hours
hike.
more to Rochester and another 45 minutes to an hour to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So you're about 3 hours away.
I have to point out, I was kind of sort of banned by Rick Pitino when I covered the Celtics. I covered Rick Pitino's Celtics, and I'm just on to him. I got to give myself credit. I was on to him from the start. You remember they lowered the banners when he came in. It was like, oh, they gave him all this power. And I was like, oh, Emperor, no clothes. And so he just didn't like my coverage. And he really didn't like when I started talking to the players. And off the record, a lot of them would tell me about some of the stuff that he would do. And he was not suited for the pro game. And he tried to institute curfew and all kinds of stuff with these pro basketball players. And so they gave me a lot of stuff. And one of the articles, it was very critical. So he was just waiting for me. I remember the Celtics, I wrote the article, then they had a game in Philadelphia. So I go into Philly, go into the locker room like I always did before the game, get some pregame notes, and he's just sitting there at the board waiting for me. He said, come here. Can I talk to you for a second? He was like, that was the most unprofessional report I've ever had. Anybody's ever written about me in my entire career.
Wow.
And I want you, this is what he said, I want you to tell me which player told you that? Because I asked them all earlier and nobody did.
Oh, my God.
I said, no, Rick, I'll never tell you my sources. He said, okay. All right. So it was just like we had a really, I think that was probably the point in our relationship when it was just like, okay. He never banned me, but I felt like if he had an opportunity to hurt me, he would have. Like, professionally, I'm talking
That's
about.
insane. I mean, it speaks volumes about the man. It also speaks volumes about how he didn't realize that he was in over his head, and then he was in over his head. There have been so many college coaches that have tried to be pro coaches and failed miserably when they should have stayed in school. Mike Krzyzewski's a perfect example. Celtics wanted him. The Lakers wanted him. He turned both of them down and stayed put. Dean Smith knew college coaching was his game. He stayed at North Carolina. Steve Spurrier tried the pro game, failed miserably. Remember Tarkanian?
Yep.
With UNLV,
with the
who tried
Spurs.
San Antonio, couldn't do
Couldn't make it through a season, right? He
Didn't make it
season.
through half the season. And this Pitino, who is by all accounts one of the best college basketball coaches
He's an
ever.
excellent college coach.
I'd put him in the top 5 ever.
Yeah, but like
and
the
he
players
can't do the pro game, but didn't understand it. Didn't understand why people weren't kissing his ring when he got there.
You probably don't remember that the Celtics once had a guy named Chris Mills. You probably don't remember this.
I do remember
it was
Chris
8
Mills.
weeks.
Yeah, no, he didn't last long
You
at
know
all.
why it was 8 weeks?
No.
Because this is Pitino's first year. They signed Chris Mills
I remember that.
to a free agent contract. Chris Mills goes through a couple of practices. He says, Coach, all the pressing that Patino wanted to do. It's like, he's doing this in October in training camp. He goes, Coach, just talking to some of the guys as one of the young veterans on the team, I just want to come to you respectfully. We just don't think this is sustainable for an entire season. Patino said, you don't like it?
Yeah.
Get the hell out and trade him.
I know, right?
He signed him and traded him, I think, probably to the Knicks. That's how the Celtics got McCarty.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you can't, he was not
a pro coach.
He was not somebody you could talk to. I saw him lose his mind. They lost a preseason game, like the third preseason game. Who cares? He's in a locker room stewing, pissed off, cussing. Players are looking at him like, dude, what? Preseason?
Wow.
Yeah. And then he signed Travis Knight to like a 7-year contract to play center.
Right. That's right.
I remember that. He was awful. This from Mike. Great show today. Need Rochi and Holly once a week to bring the positive outlook. You'll like this, Michael. Holly's laughter is contagious and love his Patriots outlook for the season. I'm not entirely sure what there was to love.
Was it 7 wins, 8 wins?
I don't remember.
30 points against the Bengals?
That's right. That
Wasn't
could be
your
it.
best case scenario dream?
That's right.
So how many catches for Gibson? Was it 6 catches?
Yeah, 6 catches, about 100 yards
75
out of the
was like that
backfield.
go route to Tyquan Thornton?
Yes, and Pop Douglas for the wide receiver screen for a touchdown.
There it is.
Rochi is a Boston treasure.
Oh,
yes, he is.
Loves how he always tries to sneak in Syracuse roots, and him calling on his trip to Cooperstown and giving details on where he was eating and visiting on the trip was priceless.
Can't go wrong with that. I would love to go to Cooperstown right now. Just spend 3 days, Otisauga Lake at the hotel, golf a couple days, spend some time in the Hall of Fame.
Listen,
never gets old.
Boston treasure. Oh, by the way, there's a guy who said, hey, remember that terrible Michael Penix take you had? I don't remember. I'll take your word for it. He said, I said that Penix was going to go in the 6th round.
Yes.
I probably said he should have.
None of us had
something
Penix
like
going
that.
8.
Oh, you got my email, huh?
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, Rochi.
It's from Joe,
Hey, Joe.
who emails us a lot. Good morning, Birdman, Rochi, and the Michael Holly.
Nice.
Michael Holly, you raised the IQ of the show by 100 points, bringing it to 100. But what do you see the Ohio State Buckeyes doing this year, even though Florida State lost and will lose to BC on Monday? That's wrong. Will they still belong in the CFP come January, despite a 6-6 record? I hate FSU and all Florida college teams. Rochi, your favorite unsung hero Red Sox moment. What is it? Mine's 40 years ago when Jim Rice leapt into the stands and saved a little boy who was hit with a screaming foul ball.
Wasn't it a girl? Was it a little boy?
It says boy here. I don't remember. Your favorite unsung hero Red Sox moment, Dan.
Go ahead, Rochi. Unsung hero.
Wow, that's a tough one, though.
That is.
Unsung hero.
A lot of good ones. A lot of good Red Sox moments.
A lot of great
over the years.
moments. I'll have to think about that. Should I got to do it during the stack?
Yeah, sure. Rochi, worst thing about Disney?
Worst thing?
Worst thing.
Probably the line sometimes they get so out of control, like 2 hours plus. Everything else.
You don't do the don't you know who I am?
No, that
you don't do
doesn't
that.
work.
Don't you know who I am? And
you need a scooter for that.
Although I did read a cool
lines.
thing that I might start doing. So last night on a tip on the mouseears.net, I think.
That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, go on Twitter.
No, there's no such thing as mouseears.net.
Mouseears.net.
No chance.
I'll send you the article I sent my daughter.
And by the way, the Ohio State question, you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. They spent $20 million. They have a $20 million NIL budget. Mm-hmm. They got the freshman of the year from Alabama, Caleb Downs, at safety. They got the best running back in the SEC the last 2 years from Mississippi, Quinshon Judkins. They're loaded on defense. They're supposed to win the national championship.
Right.
Beating Michigan's not enough. Getting to the Big Ten title game, who cares? Not enough. Win the whole thing undefeated.
Wow, and Billy O and the Eagles will upset Florida State, make it 0-2 for
I hope so.
misery down there.
I hope so. 617-779-0985. We'll wrap this up with the stack. That is next after Rochi's headlines here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Jarren Duran homered and threw out 2 runners on the base paths to lead the Red Sox to a 6-3 win last night over the Blue Jays at Fenway Park. The win snapping a 4-game losing streak, and the Sox gained a game on Minnesota for the 3rd and final wild card spot as the Twins fell to the Braves 8-6. Red Sox and Jays again tonight at Fenway. Brian Bayo against Chris Bassett on the mound. Patriots will practice this afternoon as they begin to get ready for their season opener a week from Sunday at Cincinnati. Gerard Mayo speaks at 1:15 as we await a starting quarterback decision. The Pats trimming their NFL-mandated roster to 53 yesterday, with Bailey Zappi the biggest cut of the day. New England is the 3rd team on the priority order waiver list when it comes to claims. The deadline to submit is set for noon. We'll see if the Pats can get some offensive line help. Meanwhile, according to Ian Rappaport, the Baltimore Ravens are bringing in former Patriots defensive tackle Lawrence Guy for a visit and a workout today. The 34-year-old Guy spent the past 7 seasons here in New England, winning 1 Super Bowl. And in U.S. Open tennis on the men's side, Daniel Evans outlasted Karen Khachanov in 5 sets. It was the longest match in U.S. Open history at 5 hours and 35 minutes. The Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Dan Roach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app.
You just heard the word cancer. At Mass General Cancer Center, we're here for you with the latest therapies, compassionate care, and specialists who are experienced in your cancer. Learn more at massgeneral.org/cancer.
Hey, it's Beetle from iRam Dealer, 495 Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell. Head to 495 and make this the summer of Ram. And save up to $10,000 on all new Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Or choose the lowest lease payments of the year on all Ram trucks. Plus, every new Ram purchase comes with 2 years, no charge maintenance. Go see my friend Tony and the team at 495 Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell, or visit 495ram.com. Tell them Beetle sent you.
In a world filled with financial information, Citizens can help you make sense of it. So whether you're listening to that new financial podcast that's hotter than your morning coffee, flipping through that financial guru's 1,000-page book on simple finances, or getting tips from a coworker that actually sound kind of interesting, you're ready to make the most of it. Make sense of your money with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/made-ready.
Hey, guess what? People are talking about Window Nation. Their customer, Vicky, says, we couldn't be happier. This was a great experience. Window Nation is about value, and this August, they're giving you a great value during their anniversary sale. Buy 2 windows and get 2 free. There's no limit to how much you could save. Plus, pay nothing for 24 months. Act now and get an extra $250 credit. But you have to hurry. The sale ends August 31st. So, schedule a fast in-home estimate right now at 866-90-NATION or windownation.com.
If you see me stopped in the McDonald's drive-thru, just staring at the menu with my "what should I order" face, don't interrupt. It's the most important decision I'll make all day.
And what could be better than 2 of your favorites for $3.99? Like the McDouble, McChicken, or 6-piece McNuggets. So stop in for twice the delicious. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My daughter invited her entire class to her birthday party. Can my Wi-Fi handle it?
Oh, well, at Xfinity, our latest gateways have tri-band Wi-Fi technology, letting you connect hundreds of devices at once.
No way. So if all the kids are watching stuff on their phones, well, their parents are sharing videos online.
Yep. Go ahead and watch videos. They can all do their thing and party their way. No problem.
Oh, we are going to need a bigger cake.
Now through September 12th, get fast, reliable, 300 megabit Xfinity internet for $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and unlimited data included. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires pay-bills plan and auto-pay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Currently $80 a month. Actual speeds vary.
We're coming up on the best time of year again. Football season is just around the corner. Over 1 million fans got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Join in and compete against other underdogs to win up to 325 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats. I love Underdog because it's so easy and fast to get started and play. They have a great mobile app. It's simple, straightforward, and most of all, fun. I love rooting for my favorite players with a chance to win real money. Go to the Underdog mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Beetle, and Underdog will give you a highly discounted pick on your first pick'em entry. Plus, first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Beetle, to claim your new customer offer of a gimme first pick and your deposit offer. Must be 21 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Stop into a Valvoline Instant Oil Change to ensure smooth travels for this week's holiday weekend. Their full-service oil change is complete in just about 15 minutes. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for a coupon to save on your next visit.
By the time you're finished listening to this Pepsi Zero Sugar, you'll be 15 seconds closer to kickoff. Stock up now. Patriots game day is so close, you can almost taste it. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
This is a public service announcement from 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Parents have a helping hand in keeping their kids healthy with free or low-cost health insurance from Medicaid and CHIP programs in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-KIDS-NOW or go to insurekidsnow.gov.
We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
This hour of Touch and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And as we get into the stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for great deals on new Fords? Go to the Best Ford in Nashua. Head to thebestford.com.
Thanks a lot, Dan. And tomorrow, and for the rest of the week, I'm happy to say that Michael Holley will be with us. Michael
I'm excited.
Holley today, tomorrow, Friday with Hardy and me.
I'm going to go the other way.
You're not going to show up till 5:59?
No. I'll be here earlier tomorrow.
Whoa.
Rochi was so positive today. I'm going to go evil.
Oh, that's
tomorrow.
awesome. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to
evil.
it. No, you can't do that because I don't know if you've worked with Hardy. Have you ever worked with Hardy before?
Of course.
Okay,
yeah.
so you understand there's some grumpiness there. There's some
I'm going to turn him into Rochi.
You're going to turn
I'm going to be so
Hardy
negative
into Dan Roach.
I'm going to be so negative tomorrow. He's going to want to be positive.
I want you, Mike Lockhart, I want you to clip that and play that back tomorrow in the middle of the show.
We're going to make Hardy be positive.
Now, Michael,
all day.
Hardy thinks I'm, he saw the real me. Picture this. We went and played the country club as part of the media gig when the U.S. Open was here.
Nice.
And we were playing. I was in Hardy's group, having a great day. And I'm playing along, and I'm just hitting the ball really well. You know, you had a caddy, and it was cool. It was fun. And all of a sudden, I'm on like the 12th hole of our, it was a shotgun start for different holes. And he goes, you know what you had for like the 9 holes that you first played? And I'm like, I don't want to know. I didn't want to know.
But he told you anyway, didn't he?
And he told me anyway. And I'm like,
on,
and I went off on him because I shot a 39 on the front and a 52 on the back because
39.
of Hardy. And he got mad at me. And
39, you were playing from the back?
Yeah. Well, we were playing from wherever they told us
to
play. So
39 on the front 9
yes.
of the country club.
And I'm like, you know why?
You knew it was good. You knew you were in the zone. Like, leave me alone. Let's not talk about it.
And he ruined it for me. He goes, oh, I seen the real Dan. Like, come on, you don't do that.
That's not right.
It was unfair. It was unsportsmanlike conduct.
But you are going to turn Hardy around tomorrow.
Love
All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have a front row for the seat for that. Okay. I can't wait for it to happen. Hey, yet another podcast has made a deal for $100 million. Brothers and NFL stars Jason and Travis Kelce have signed a deal with Amazon's podcast studio Wondery for their New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce podcast. There were rumors all around that this is going to happen. It has happened. Amazon has more money than any company on the face of the planet, but you might as well light that $100 million on fire.
Oh, you're not a fan of the New Heights podcast?
All right. All I've seen, and the clips I've seen online, is Jason Kelce bringing his wife in to talk about when they dated and the first date they had, bringing his kids in to talk to Uncle Travie, and how which is fine. I'm a
Taylor,
big fan
Taylor
of
Swift,
Finley.
Taylor Swift stories, right?
Taylor
Of
Swift.
course.
I have not seen a Taylor
But
Swift
not seen her, but
story.
the stories.
But
yeah.
how long do you think that's going to last?
A
And
long
how long
time.
do you think Travis Kelce's personality is going to last
I'm
before
telling
people
you, this
turn
is
that
in.
off?
Oh no, this is in. I'm serious. This is going to be successful because
Why?
Because of Taylor Swift. The Swifties, as long as their relationship lasts, he's good. And even if the relationship fizzles, he's got enough new eyeballs, new ears, new interest on the Kelce brothers. They're in.
And she'll write 3 albums.
Yeah,
Right?
That's
About
right.
their breakup and
exactly.
everything.
If they break up,
yes,
there's content.
gold mine for her.
They stay together. There's content.
The Travis Kelce personality that he has isn't a turnoff for you guys at all.
No.
How he tries to speak like he's from Brooklyn when in reality
He's from Cleveland Heights.
suburban Cleveland. I mean, really, that doesn't bother you as an Ohio native.
Yeah,
that doesn't bother you.
But Cleveland Heights is not suburb. It's not like.
Well, all right, talk to me about Cleveland Heights. What's that neighborhood like?
Oh, it's a very diverse neighborhood. It's great. No, it's not like deep suburbs. Like, dude,
It's not Bed-Stuy
You
either.
can't even. No, it's certainly not. And nowhere in Ohio is.
All right, so what are we talking about here?
Right. But no, it's he's got a little. He's a little citified. Yeah, it works.
No, it doesn't.
You
can't say that with a straight face.
You're just not. You're not a Kelce fan. You're not a fan of the Kelce
people who try to speak to change where it is they come from. Who's that guy on the Miami Heat that I can't stand?
Jimmy Butler.
No. Tyler Hero.
Oh, Hero.
Who is from
So
suburban Milwaukee.
Okay, I see what you're
and,
saying.
and I mean, come on.
You're playing. See, I know where you're going. You're going down that line. You're going up against the line. You're talking about white guys.
Did I say anything? I didn't say
But
anything.
you're about white guys who might have a little bit of flavor, a little swag.
Tell me that doesn't come off as phony.
Well, it depends on it. Like, okay, how about Eminem?
What about
Eminem? No, I'm saying, but he's a white guy from Detroit.
Yeah,
who's got a little flavor.
His neighborhood, the neighborhood he grew up
See,
in, was
it's
wildly different.
Because it's Detroit.
No,
See, you give him credit.
Look, I've seen 8 Mile.
You get a
damn
little
it.
8 Mile.
No, you're telling me that his neighborhood doesn't lend to his style of rapping. You're what I'm saying is he's staying more true to himself than either Tyler Hero or Travis Kelce.
Cleveland is not Oz, okay? It is not.
I'm not saying it is.
Can I give you my Red Sox unsung hero moment?
Sure,
Yes.
go right ahead.
All right, we'll end on a positive note.
Go right ahead.
Tim Wakefield with what he did out of the bullpen in the 04 World Series
Game 3.
run.
Game
is what he
3
did, yes.
ALCS.
And then also watching Brianna, his daughter, throw to Jason Veritek on opening day, and then watching Jason Veritek load up his car to send her to college.
That was great.
There it is.
Pretty cool stuff.
That was fantastic.
Okay,
All
there
right,
you go.
it's time to go. Scott Zolak is here. Tim McCone is also here. Those guys have the midday program. That is next.
And I want to hear.
Dan.
I want to
Thank
hear
you,
this
Michael.
McBone story about being banned at the Little League World Series.
I like that. Thank you, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow. Dan
Yes.
Roach, last 2 days. Thank you very much.
Hey, have a great life.